Oh, Good morning again. Day 2 of the UK Live project. I'm Russell Quirk, and I'm delighted to be here, yes, for the second day. Mark Littlewood, of course, follows me with all that is World Cuppa action, as he did yesterday. And thank you for your attendance. Fantastic figures yesterday for kind of day 1. Let's hope we can beat that today on day 2. Keep your comments coming as well, and indeed your super chats. Let us know what you think of this. And yeah, I'm still not wearing a tie. I don't really intend to, unless there is, I guess, a huge backlash in the comments that suggest and dictate that perhaps I do, because one man that always wears a tie, and I should, I guess, see him as my example, is my first special guest of the day. You might know him, Mr. Mike Graham.
Hello.
Hello, what are you doing here?
Well, they said, can you bring the papers in? Because they nicked them from me yesterday, and they didn't say where they were doing with them, and then I found out later they were giving them to you.
It is quite a journey from Studio 1 to Studio 2.
It is. It's taken me ages, you know. If I'd known it was going to take this long, I would have maybe gone for a wee before.
Do you know what's odd? This is your studio, right? This is part of the Mike Graham Pooch project.
It's fantastic,
and it's the first time you sat down in it.
It is actually. Actually, no, because technically yesterday I came in and they showed me around and we put out a little video, and I did sit down there and thought, wow. But they didn't have the bowl of fruit, which is rather nice.
And do you know, I think it's real.
I think it is real.
Not that any of our
I can
guests
bring you an extra bunch of bananas because I've got some extra bananas at home.
Not that any of our guests will be eating it, I suppose. But
this is something you're going to have to get used to because every Tuesday...
Is it a Starmer alert?
Yeah, it's a Starmer alert.
Starmer alert.
I think you should use it as a Starmer alert. Every Tuesday, right, this happens because normally we'd be finished the show.
Yeah.
And I said to actually Pooch the week before last, before I went on holiday, I said, Russell's going to have to work out a way of building this into his show.
Yeah.
Because it'll be
some kind of...
Yeah.
Because they didn't tell me.
Yeah. Well, see, there's always something they don't tell you.
Well, we did say yesterday, we had a big caveat at the beginning of the show to say, look, this is edgy, this is raw, this is
absolutely.
real.
It's what people like,
no
though.
corporate nonsense here. So there's going to be a glitch or two. Not too many yesterday. Should we talk a little bit about this this UK Live project?
Yes.
What it is and what it's going to be?
Absolutely, we should. And by the way, the tie thing, I take my tie off for Plonk of the Week.
Yeah.
So I don't always wear it. But
Well, I'm carrying one just in case.
Yeah.
So if there is a huge surge of kind of opinion that I should be wearing one, then I'll put one on, I guess.
Right. Well, we've got a whole series of heron ties, if you'd like to select one.
No,
Really, you're not really into herons?
No.
Funnily enough, it's a heron-free zone.
It is heron. Well, but I'm sure we'll have our own mascots in due time.
There'll
be a fox, a squirrel, a Cyberman. I don't know.
There's bound to be some things. Yeah, I mean, I'm about to put out a plea actually to people who have been very kind and sent all sorts of great stuff in that we've peppered the studio.
There's mountains of stuff.
But we're going to have to ask you not to, please don't send anything else in because we've got nowhere else to put it, you know. And I'm starting to have to take stuff home and put it. Here we go.
Well, should we?
These are some nice ties.
I don't know if we can do polls yet.
This is like one of those scenes from Suits You, Sir, isn't it?
Well, like this.
Would you like a tie?
Shall I try a couple?
Yeah, go on. That's a nice one.
Goldfish. Would you like that? Goldfish, very 70s.
Some of these are rather expensive, actually. That's a pink tie. This is a
very patriotic, as of course we are.
This is one of my favourites. This is a Zegna one. This one.
That actually looks quite slick.
It's nice. Zegna. You know, I bought. You know, this tie is.
So they're not just comedy ties.
This tie is older than Ellie Hodges. Right?
Everything is older than Ellie Hodges.
Most things
standing behind the camera.
I bought this Zegna tie in New York when I lived there, and I left there in 1992.
So it's back in trend, I think you'll find.
Well, I mean, I'm very loath to throw out. I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, it cost me about $100 then.
I know. I know you're the hardest working man in showbiz, but have you deposited your entire wardrobe from home here just because you never go home to change?
No, I've got so many ties. You know, because when I started working on television and they started asking me to wear ties, I suddenly thought, I've got all these ties.
I like that.
You like that one?
Skull and Crossbones.
Skull and Crossbones, yeah.
Pirate Radio.
Pirate Radio.
Pirate Radio.
There you go.
Do you think?
That's good.
Yeah.
This one is a cheap silk tie. Because the worst thing is that, you know, one of the things I have learned to do is if I go and have lunch somewhere, I normally take the tie off, otherwise I spill food on it. Because I had thousands of ties in New York that were really expensive, and they all had stains down them, and I thought I can never wear these again.
What, from your executive lunches?
Yeah, exactly.
What I love is that people have been sending these in, and they've obviously gone to the same heron shop, because there's two that are completely identical.
No, there are. And these are like England flag ties. These are good for the World Cup, actually.
That's way too controversial.
Yeah, it's Nazi-like. But you can have them for the... Did you see, by the way, I mean, I know you're not interested in football. However, you'll be interested in this. There's a woman called, I think she might be from Essex, actually, Emma Hayes, who is an England football sort of manager, right? But she's currently, I think, the manager of the American women's football team, which is I say quite regularly isn't really football at all. You know,
Controversial.
the sort of thing you can't say on Talk Sport.
No.
And you've got to, you know, it's an absolute total line.
Ofcom would fine you £100
when
for saying.
Spain played Cape Verde last night, now you might have been to Cape Verde. It's a very small.
I think I have. Been to Spain.
Yeah. Well, we've all been to Spain. Well, Cape Verde is one of those islands that's off the coast. It's sort of by the Canaries, but down a bit. And it's one of those places, I think it's got black beaches, like black sand and all
Like
that.
the Tenerife thing,
Yeah,
volcanic.
it's very similar, yeah. And it's a lovely place, apparently. A bit windy sometimes, but quite a good place to go on holiday. Anyway, tiny place. I think they've only got about 300,000 people. Anyway, they were the minnows, and they managed to get a 0-0 draw with Spain. Emma Hayes, who's one of the woke sort of ITV commentators, at the end of it goes, "This has been a great victory for immigration."
What?
And everyone, I'm going, sorry? What?
How does she define that?
Well, I don't know. She didn't explain it, because if I'd been Sam Matterface or whoever it was else that was there, you might have gone, what do you mean? What are you talking about? How's it immigration related? I assume that she meant that a lot of the players from Cape Verde play in other leagues in Europe. I don't know. I just don't know.
But she wasn't referring to the England team, which of course
No.
has people in it that are second, third generation immigrants, and all power to them. But and why make a political comment?
Why make it
Why
anyway?
are we making football
Why exactly?
political again
Exactly.
and again and again?
Leave the politics
But in the
out
next
of
2 or
it.
3 years, that's going to happen again, isn't
Yeah.
it? And again.
Oh
and
yeah,
again.
totally.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, all of the commentary from the BBC and all of the commentary from ITV, they're always constantly filling it with this kind of, you know, feel good. Oh, isn't it marvellous to see all these people from all these different countries?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. But you know, why are you making such a thing of it?
Yeah.
It's called the World Cup for a reason.
The only thing so far, so early in the tournament, that I really do like, though, is, of course, the friendly match a couple of weeks ago, which England played, I think, whoever it was.
New Zealand
or
played,
something like that. And, of course, the crowd erupted in, let's just say, some opinion with regard to our Prime Minister.
Yes.
We probably haven't got it, probably can't show it, but thousands of miles away from home, our Prime Minister still resonates with England fans for all the wrong reasons.
It'd be great, wouldn't it, if you got off the plane in Evian and there were people shouting Keir Starmer's like,
Well, I guess he's going to every match, is he? On a private jet with an entourage.
Well, no, because at the moment
carbon
he's
footprint.
in. Well, I mean, I don't know if he was going to go to the England. I bet he won't go.
He's at the G7 today.
Because he's at the G7 today, I presume tomorrow, and tomorrow night is when the first England match is, right?
Yeah.
So I imagine he won't go, because he's probably getting advised not to, because he's got to look as though he's in charge of the crisis, right?
Yeah.
Which has been largely created by him.
By himself.
Because he didn't go to the Champions League final. Because he was worried that if he went, he'd be a bad omen for Arsenal.
Well, A,
They'd
he's
lose.
bad luck.
And then they lost anyway.
B, they probably, Special Branch would probably said, sorry, Prime Minister, we can't actually guarantee your safety. And also, who would want to be in a stadium with 80,000 people when they're shouting the W word at
Well,
him?
exactly. I mean, I suppose even the Arsenal fans must think that, because everybody thinks that.
Yeah.
But isn't it embarrassing, though, that we've now got a leader who is not only embarrassing the country, but is embarrassing the country in front of the whole world.
Well, and the fact that you can't actually have him at a football match to celebrate and support England because of all the aforementioned
But also,
reasons.
he's gone to this G7, and everybody there's a great picture that I put out last night on Twitter, where he's sitting at a table, and to his left is Donald Trump. And he's literally like rigidly like this, so he doesn't have to catch his eye. Because everybody knows he's a dead duck.
Well,
Everybody knows he's finished.
We'll have some more handshake moments. You know that brilliant scene where President Trump asks him to
Drops
pop
the
over,
papers.
and he walks over.
Oh, yeah.
Trump
And then
kind
he
of
turned his
shakes
back.
his hand and then turns his back on him.
Yeah.
And Starmer has to skulk off.
He thought,
back
because he
to the
thought
corner.
you could see, he thought, oh great, he's going to ask me to speak.
I'm on stage.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That is really.
Yeah, no, we're going to get a bit more of
Will
that.
Keir Starmer ever go to the darts, do you reckon, Mike?
No, because
Darts.
because
Let's talk about a hostile audience.
they're one of the most vocal, aren't they, about it?
Well, he definitely wouldn't be able to be protected. I suspect the players themselves would probably turn on him and
Yeah,
start throwing
Sky. I mean,
darts at him.
Sky have to kind of mute the crowd effectively. And they're doing it now on most of the football matches they cover as well, because everybody sings the song.
Yeah.
You know, as we did, funnily enough, at Shepherd's Bush.
Well, and I suspect it's going to get worse after Thursday night, isn't it? The Makerfield by-election.
Yes.
And then I guess they'll have to, in the next few weeks, if Burnham wins, start singing that Burnham is a W word.
Because he will be.
Yeah.
He will be
give it
worse,
time.
actually.
Well, he'll have a tiny little honeymoon period, I suspect, when he Andy Burnham, but it'll last about 2 weeks.
I don't think so.
Until, I don't know if you saw yesterday, we did a supposed first 100 days of Burnham, which is basically more benefits, open the borders, go and shake hands with the EU a little bit more, deplete the army. And it was kind of comedic, but at the same time, born of kind of fact in terms of what Burnham's going to do.
I'm a bit terrified, actually, of Burnham becoming the Prime Minister, because he's so useless, right? people go, oh, but he was this great, successful parliamentarian. He wasn't.
He wasn't.
He never was.
Yeah.
He never did
and
anything.
nor as Manchester Mayor.
Nobody can remember anything that he did.
Yeah.
I tell you what he did when he was Manchester Mayor. He put up a load of cameras because he was going to introduce a ULEZ zone.
Yeah.
Because spent 200 million quid putting up all these cameras and making a whole series of bus lanes and all the rest of it, and then cancelled it because the people didn't want it.
But famously, Mike, you predict things that generally do come true.
Yeah,
I've
do.
found.
It's true.
What's going to happen Thursday night? Because you and I are on a show together talking about this. I think you're a superstar guest. I'm just a bit player panelist.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm apparently going to be there for a couple of hours on Dan Wootton's show, and I still think Reform might sneak it, because I think there's a big amount of undecided voters apparently, which could be as big as 5 or 7%.
Yeah.
And if those undecided voters all decide to vote for Reform, and you think Burnham's ahead by maybe 3 or 4, I don't think he's as popular as he thinks he is.
I think there's also secret voters. So when people knock on doors canvassing, people answer the door and don't necessarily say they're Reform for whatever reason, but will vote Reform.
Yeah.
So I think that could be 5, 6, 7% as well.
And then we had Richard Tice on this morning, and I said to him, what about Restore? And he said from their polling, he doesn't think that any of the others altogether will come up to 10%.
Yeah.
So he doesn't think clearly what Conor Tomlinson said to me yesterday. He said he thought Restore might be 13 to 15%, maybe as high as 20. I think that's very optimistic.
But the irony will be if Burnham wins, that's almost a vindication of Starmer on the basis that it's a Labour vote, which almost supports Starmer's record for the last 2 years.
Except you might argue as well, though, that people voting for Burnham are voting for Burnham to get Starmer out. Because, I mean, Peter Barnes famously, who I think
he's on in a minute,
coming on today.
I've had a bit of a ding-dong with him. I hope he's going to behave himself today.
I watched that last week. It's great. And he was one of the Tories saying, I'm going to vote for Burnham.
He did. That's what he told me. I asked him directly and he said I would vote Burnham to keep Reform out, which is all nice and fluffy on the right, isn't it? Not divided at all.
Not at all. I mean, and kind of mad because you kind of sort of, I mean, because I really believe the best message that we can send to Starmer, when I say we, I mean the British public who hate him as opposed to any political organisation, is to vote for Reform to win. So that Starmer realises that what he's doing is completely screwing the country. Well, we don't want more of the same with Burnham.
Should we bring Barnsley in and see if he's changed his mind? Good morning, Peter Barnes.
He might have changed his mind,
I was hoping you'd been banned.
Hello, everybody.
Actually, but you're allowed on apparently still. How are you, mate?
I'm not so bad, thank you. Apologies, I can't be there. Estate agents are ruining my life.
Well, they ruin everybody's life.
So I'm stuck here.
So last week when I had you on here, you banged your head and said that as a Conservative voter, you would vote for Andy Burnham if you were back in your hometown of Makerfield. Have you changed your mind and seen sense yet, mate?
No, because this last week has proven me correct. Reform just aren't ready. You're not ready for it. I mean,
ready for what?
To go back to just Mike's. Sorry, I'm ready for government. Nowhere near it. If this is the level of campaigning you've got, you're going to get walked over on a general election by a half-decent Labour campaign. To go back to Mike's point, what are the bits? You kept treating it like one when you offered Andy Burnham up as a potential Prime Minister. You made your candidate look irrelevant because you openly said he's not going to be Prime Minister. You've given people the opportunity. Wait.
But I'm not here as a
No. I'm just saying, you gave the opportunity, Reform gave the opportunity for voters to get rid of a very unpopular Prime Minister, the most unpopular Prime Minister of all time, with a politician who has a positive polling rating. In what world do you think that people aren't going to go, I don't like the unpopular guy, here's a guy I like that gets rid of him? That is what, realistically, the Reform campaign actually did. Mike's point is interesting, though, about the kind of, if it was a general election and, all this kind of narrative. The thing is, if you actually look at most of the polling, if this was part of a widespread general election campaign, Reform are actually predicted to take it. The question you have to ask is why then at a by-election are you not able to do it? Most people will then reach to say, well, Andy Burnham is very, very popular. But as you've just said, you don't think he's as popular as he is. So the answer to that is Reform UK are not seen as a credible opposition yet by the public. That's the big factor. You've got the anger. You haven't directed it into actual, here's how we're going to fix things. Reform have wandered around going, that's terrible, that's awful. And the public could do that. That's their job. The Reform Party's job is actually to say, yes, I agree with you. And here is all the policies I'm going to do to fix it. Robert Kenyon, I'm afraid, was rather let down, in my opinion, by this campaign because you made it national instead of local. You've completely missed the point of a local candidate. There are lenses to focus everything through. And like I said, you've basically made him irrelevant by offering Andy Burnham up for a job that he has yet to actually get. And most people in the Labour Party do not believe that that's a done deal either.
Yeah, but the only reason Andy Burnham's running, though, Peter, is in order to become Prime Minister. He said that. So it's not Reform put him up as a Prime Ministerial candidate. He did that himself.
He called
and
it.
maybe, here's one for you to ponder. Maybe Reform actually don't care about Makerfield and they actually want to have the Manchester mayoralship instead, which is what they get if Burnham gets in.
Well, if Burnham gets in, unfortunately, I think you've got the problem of the returning conquering hero narrative. He's suddenly been the guy that defeats Reform UK. He gets to go back. And more importantly, at no point was Andy actually judged as Greater Manchester Mayor. You brought up a great example there of the kind of failed ULEZ scheme. That should have been plastered all over every messaging bit. Reform UK did every speech. It should have, no matter what they were talking about, should have been targeted to Makerfield. They didn't do the basic messaging program that you would expect from a by-election or even a general election campaign.
But that's what I'm saying. Maybe they want him to win.
Yeah, or maybe. So Pete, also, look, there are a couple of things. First of all, I don't sit in this chair as a Reform councillor. I sit in this chair as the host of this show, as a presenter. So asking me to keep defending Reform, frankly, I could. And I do in other scenarios, but I'm not going to do that here because this is not the Reform show. This is the Russell Quirk show.
No,
right? So you need to understand that. The second thing you need to understand is that trying to conflate a general election, and the clue is in the word, by the way, general, because that would be across 650 constituencies. You cannot do that when you're relating it to the demographic that is Makerfield. So make or break, no pun intended, no matter what happens on Thursday night, you cannot say actually that the result reflects any efforts by Reform or Restore or Labour or whatever with regard to a general election for two reasons. A, because the demographic is very, very different to the rest of the country. Makerfield is not a barometer, it's not a Basildon, it doesn't reflect that of a general election. But also, I mean, we keep calling it a general election test. It isn't, because everybody knows that, yes, from a Labour perspective, it ends up crowning a Prime Minister. So if Burnham wins, no doubt, odds on, he will be Prime Minister in a few months' time. But for Reform and Restore and the Conservatives and so on, it's nothing like that. It's literally getting someone, whether they're local or not, elected. And as Mike says, as a consequence of the Labour Party deciding to spend £4 or £5 million of taxpayers' money to call a by-election to get someone elected as Prime Minister because they don't have anybody else within the Labour Party that seemingly is fit to be Prime Minister. That's the comment. That's what we should be talking about, Peter Barnes.
I don't necessarily disagree, but again, when you keep elevating him, and when Reform have elevated him, and the Reform have
take that.
Yeah. No, but this is the point. No, but again, I'm not a Conservative. I've been a member since before Henrik even left, and yet I was very happily called up multiple times last time I was here. So let's play fair. Also, on the issue of is this a general election? When you say it is odds-on bet that he is going to be Prime Minister, the voter will probably 9 times out of 10 start to judge that as a general election campaign. They will judge it because you've told people that there is an opportunity to choose the Prime Minister. I think that's the big pits where Reform UK have really fallen down. Because you needed to keep it hyper-local. You needed to make Labour actually look like a neglectful, idiotic and foolish party.
Well,
and unfortunately, when you offered the chance to get rid of
very good.
Yeah, of course they are, but you've got to keep reminding the voter. You've got to reinforce it.
Pete, I'm going to change the subject very slightly, but with
Can I just ask a quick
flavour.
question before you change the subject? Since Peter knows so much about campaigning, don't you think you should help the Tories with the next campaign they do? Because the last one was a complete and utter disaster. And I don't mean the local elections where they got completely trounced, but I mean the last general election where they also got completely disappeared.
Oh, yeah, it was terrible. It was awful. But the reality is the Tories lost because they completely had no credibility. They had nothing to run on. So that's why the campaign was terrible. They couldn't point to anything to which they'd have improved. So there's no kind of guru that could have been easy to turn around, I'm afraid, for the Conservatives. I mean, literally, they deserve to crash and burn. I wrote an article about they deserve it, but again, when people reach for the Conservatives as a kind of, because this way to kind of justify a reform failure or a reform issue.
Yeah, and Pete, so your signal is really bad. You'd think after 14 years of Tory rule, which obviously you wholeheartedly advocate, that they might have got broadband in London slightly more efficient. But it looks like, Pete, another failure for your party, but never mind. Pete, yeah, sorry, look, we're going to have to let Pete go.
Well, it's a Labour man.
Come back on can you come back on, I don't know, your 5G phone signal or something? Because we do want to carry on with this comedy of you defending the Conservative Party. It's funny. But we can't do it in a signal which means that you're breaking up and being even more nonsensical than usual, Peter Barnes.
That is another thing, isn't it? I'm sorry to keep interrupting you, but it's kind of what I do.
Yeah, that's you.
I've never understood why our broadband in this country is so bad, and why our 5G, 4G, 3G, whatever it was. I remember David Cameron saying that we were going to roll out 4G to every part of the country.
It's 2026, and we have a situation across the country. We're a country only of 70 million people. We have apparently 95% coverage. But we are, Peter Barnes lives in London, right? So one of the greatest and biggest capital cities, which takes me very nicely to what I want to switch gears to in a minute. Right. And we can't hold a conversation online. And I don't know if that's, how many are there now? 5 or 6 broadband providers, the likes of E and Vodafone and O2 and so on. It's pathetic. Yeah. How many times have you driven along in a car trying to have a conversation with someone or WhatsApp in particular, and it drops?
All the time.
It drops.
Well, I'll tell you what, where I live is not a million miles from here. In fact, it's 2 miles from here. And I'm going to get in the car shortly and I'm going to drive home. And just before I get to my street, I cross over a little body of water, which is near Canada Water, right? So I don't think it's anything to do with that. But the line just goes dead. Yeah. Right? In exactly the same place. I don't know what's that. I don't know what it is. I like to think it's some kind of Russian safe house or something, so that there's some kind of, electronic barrier up or something like that. But then it gets worse. Go down to Sussex at the weekend. As soon as I go south of Tunbridge Wells, right, if I'm talking to anybody, it just cuts out. Yeah. If my daughter says, I'll give you a call, I said, well, wait till I get, if I'm coming up the other way, wait till I get past Tunbridge Wells, because then it'll be fine. But I once I used to go down to Corfe Castle quite a bit. Friends of mine had a house down there. And in Corfe Castle High Street, I don't know if you know it, in Dorset, beautiful part of the world, right? Lovely old ruined castle, some lovely pubs, right near Swanage, on the Jurassic coast, as they call it. I used to have to go up to the top of this high street where there's a war memorial. I had to step up onto the war memorial steps.
Stand next to it.
And hold the phone like that.
Yeah, to get a signal.
To get an email.
Yeah. I know.
Seriously.
I know.
He used to stand there. People were like, what are you doing? I'm like, getting an email. It's like something out of Fred Flintstone.
Well, one of the people that I'd like to blame for that, Mike Graham, is Sadiq Khan.
Yes.
Which is what I want to switch gears to.
Well, he's in Singapore at the moment.
Well, he is. You might have seen he's gone to Singapore because the man's obviously got no ego at all, to take some obscure award, which is the, I don't know, I can't even remember.
Safer London
the Long So Wang Award for something.
Careful how you say
Wanger, I said.
Long So Wang. So long.
So he steps up to the podium, takes this award for something or other that's been cobbled together, obviously completely contrived, in relation to him being the steward of everything that's good about London, and how London is the best city in the world, which I'd like to think it is. I mean, it's our capital
it certainly
city.
Used to be.
However, he then went on a little rant, I don't know if you saw this, which was him to then say that he is going to put more money into PR to help negate and chastise those that would seek to say bad things about London. And in his words, to impart misinformation.
Yes.
Now, whenever I hear a politician talking about misinformation, it makes me think about every George Orwell book that's ever been written. Animal Farm, 1984, and so on. Because what
Labour
it really
Party
means
Manifesto.
Labour Party Manifesto and the Conservative Party Manifesto. It's basically him saying that he wants to silence people that disagree with him and talk about the fact that maybe London could be better. So I've got a little list, and we've got a graphic, I think, actually. Haven't we?
You have graphics?
Graphics.
How have you got graphics?
I had to make it myself.
Oh, right, okay. Because I don't have any of those. You got my papers?
Yeah.
That's not really a graphic. That's not a graphic.
Not that one. The other one.
That is not a graphic.
The other one. The one that I asked.
That's
the one. There it is. Look.
Ooh,
I actually. I say I made it. I asked ChatGPT and Quirk to make it.
That's amazing.
This is Sadiq Khan, right? So I simply asked the internet, can you please tell me all the things that Sadiq Khan has failed at?
Yeah.
And you could almost kind of hear the internet salivating as it put the list together. This is it. Look, crime and policing. Knife crime remains significantly above decade ago levels. It does. I mean, it's kind of 2-3 times what it was. Phone theft, 100,000 phones being nicked every year. Street theft, including watches, of course. People being stabbed and killed for their Rolexes, of course. I mean, that's not a good look. I don't think that's success, is it? The Metropolitan Police scandals, one after the other. And of course, the Metropolitan Police are in special measures.
They are.
Let's not forget, Sadiq Khan is the man that runs the Metropolitan Police.
Does.
He's in charge of it.
Yeah.
Housing, something that's quite close to my heart from a professional point of view. Sadiq Khan said originally, when he first got elected in 2016, that he would oversee the building of 65,000 homes, and half of them would be affordable for those that need that kind of step up onto the ladder. He's delivered 20% of what he promised.
That many? I didn't think he'd even done that much.
Transport and TfL. TfL's been bankrupt not once but twice under Sadiq Khan. And ULEZ and environmental policy. This notion, this nonsense that the environment only exists above Britain like this.
Right.
And if we're really clean and green, to use a kind of churlish, horrible phrase, then it's okay because all the stuff that China and India and the United States are doing doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
But what's ULEZ and congestion charge and the 20 mph limit thing really all about? Money. It's all about cash. About £1 billion a year now comes into the City Hall Exchequer just from penalising London motorists. So there's me graphic, there's me rant on the basis that Sadiq Khan has the gall to go to the Philippines to collect an award to say how brilliant he is. It's not about London, let's be honest, with Sadiq Khan. It's about him and how good he is.
And he thinks if you get awards for something, then you must be doing something right.
Yes. When
everybody knows it's a rigged game.
Yeah, of course it is.
You know, because they all just give each other awards.
Yeah, yeah.
It sort of goes around the
it's
table.
Like any industry award, isn't it? With the famous,
whose turn is it this week?
Famous Alan Partridge fireplace vendor awards.
Yeah, right.
The people that win it are those that have booked the most places on the tables and paid 300 or 400 quid each.
I don't know if I've got some good news or bad news from Elena. Peter Barnes is back.
Oh, go on. Let's get him on. And he can try and attempt to defend
he looks
himself
better now.
a bit. Are you on a different
He's moved to Singapore.
Barnsley, did you miss that rant about how fabulous Sadiq Khan is? You probably vote for him as well as Andy Burnham, wouldn't you, mate?
Oh, no, because, we were very good at telling people how bad he has been. It's actually a very good summation of just how terrible he is. Let's be real. London has fallen apart. I've been here about 10 years, and every year it's got progressively worse. And yet he's running around, like you say, getting an award for basically turning up. Definition of a participation trophy politician. And it's kind of pathetic, really, actually, to be fair. But hopefully we might see the back of him, because I think, if rumour is true, he actually might be stepping down this time round, because he doesn't think...
I've heard the opposite, that he's going to go for a fourth term. And why wouldn't he? Unless he's going to come back to Parliament. I mean, can you imagine him and Andy Burnham together in Parliament?
Well, the thing I thought I'd heard that there was going to be a challenge to his mayoralty, as it were, from the Labour Party. So the Labour were going to put somebody else up to try and maybe win a primary. I don't know.
Apparently, that's what I heard.
But one of the things I wanted to say as well about what he said about misinformation. One of the cases he cited was the scenes left after the Arsenal victory parade. I don't know if you saw in North London, which were really, really awful. I mean, there was thousands of people. Some people said there was 1 million people there, but the streets were literally covered in litter. It was more litter than tarmac. You couldn't see the road for the amount of litter. It was horrible. But one of his arguments was, this has been put around America by right-wing kind of, zealots trying to make out that London's a terrible place because this is what it looks like. And it was only because it was the Arsenal victory parade. I went, yeah, but that's what it looks like, because it did look like that.
It's true.
It might have only looked like that for one day,
it's true.
But it still looked like that. It's not like a fake piece of information. It's real information. It might be being taken slightly out of context, but it's disgusting.
That brings to mind what's happening in the World Cup right now, Japan versus USA. Should we play that clip, Elena? Clip 2. This is how different cultures deal with the aftermath of their celebrations rather differently.
But it's like respect for everything, respect for the players, supporters, and also for the stadium. We're kind of honored to be here, so we don't want to make the mess and then leave it. So I think that's the reason why we're doing it.
What a difference between one culture and another. Well, 3 cultures really. Ours, as Mike has just outlined. The Japanese there that tidy up after themselves, and other people. And the USA, who are basically as slobby as us, it seems, with their super cups and whatever else.
I said this earlier on my show, that when I go and visit my sister in America, I mean, the town that she lives in is spotless. It's a very lovely, and it's quite a upmarket sort of place in Connecticut. but you would not see any litter on the ground at all, ever, anywhere. You know.
Well, apparently, according to Deep Khan, there's no litter on the streets of London either. It's all great.
Really? Yeah.
And you know what do they used to say? The streets of London used to be paved with gold, Pete, but not anymore. They're paved with knives, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And blood.
Yeah, knives, and don't forget his security staff leave gun lines. They leave their guns lying around on a wall, if I remember correctly. So yeah, he's hardly one to talk.
Strangely, right outside his house. I wonder if the armed unit of the police that protect him were trying to tell us something, or others.
Well,
I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? If we just leave these guns here. Anyway, I shouldn't venture that any further, should I really? Right, Mike, you're trying to take over the show, I think.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
going to
sorry.
throw you
yeah.
out.
Oh, yeah, throw me out, please. Help
Off you go.
yourself. This is your studio,
well,
not mine.
threw him out of
I
your
feel-
show last week. Now I'm throwing you out of
Excellent.
my show.
Well,
There you
maybe
go.
that will save him. He'll be safe for a bit longer. Well, listen, have a great show.
Thank you, mate.
Enjoy
Good to see
it.
you.
That
was
lovely.
Mike Graham, everybody, back
Yeah,
at 7 o'clock
thank you
tomorrow
very
morning,
much.
as ever. Think very carefully about having a holiday again, I think, Mike Graham. But anyway, right, good. Okay, so let's talk about the front pages as well, can we, please, Peter? I don't know if you've managed to have a look at them. So, front of the Times, age checks on phones to access social media. Well, I guess they need data from people in order to check ages, so that sounds a bit sinister. The front page of The Telegraph is a very, very similar story, Pete. Starmer's social media ban is a rush job, and Russian diplomat linked to firebomb attack on PM's house and car. Very, very sinister, that. I don't know why that's not getting more coverage this morning, actually. Front page of the Daily Mail, this horrendous, hideous story. This is the 8 missed chances to save baby Preston Davey from his evil adoptive fathers. We'll come back to that a bit later on in terms of maybe some comment on that. And also the I paper, similarly to the front of the Telegraph, the plot to burn down Starmer's home was linked to a Russian mastermind. Wow. What do you make of that? Do you think, Pete, that there might be anything in a concerted Russian plot to have a little dig at our Prime Minister there? And if so, isn't that war?
Oh, yes, by the definition of it, it is an act of war. My thing is, why would they bother? They could just hop on a dinghy and come on in. You know, I'm not quite sure why you would need to have such a concerted effort to take down the Prime Minister. He's pretty good at doing it himself. He's doing it in slow motion. But, yeah, it's a very concerning story, realistically, because in what world can we operate in which we don't say anything back? That's what really strikes me as the odd bit. You
Well, we
know,
never do,
if this
do
is
we?
an attack on the Prime... Yeah, if this is an attack on the Prime Minister, it's an attack on our head of state. It's an attack also in the country, just as the Salisbury situation and the Litvinenko and all the others. You know, we just could. I know we let everybody else in through the front door. Do we now let the Russians in?
Well,
we let
I
the
mean,
Chinese in. We threw a
well,
party when they turned up.
We seem to let Russian jets and Russian frigates kind of run roughshod over us. I think Keir Starmer not 2 days ago was banging on about how we'd boarded a Russian tanker in the English Channel, but it's the first one out of hundreds that have actually been through our waters over the last few weeks and months, despite the fact that obviously there's supposed to be sanctions against Russia because of what's happening in Ukraine. But yeah, so to trumpet success based on jumping on board one boat rather than all of the others that have seemingly been let through would seem to be pretty funny, really, pretty pathetic. But of course, yeah, the Chinese as well. We let them do whatever they want, don't we? I mean, they can spy on us. They can put cameras in places. They can have apparent people that are employed to be very, very close to members of Parliament in Britain. And they get kind of found out as being spies and expelled, but nothing ever happens insofar as our retaliation against China. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? You know, we've got this embassy being built literally a mile away from the City of London, and we seem to think that it's okay. Apparently that embassy, by the way, has about 200 rather odd, small, secure rooms underneath it, which could be used for, oh, I don't know, maybe it's a wine cellar. I don't think there's cells for dissidents at all, are they? So, yeah, why don't we ever do anything? I mean, is it because Keir Starmer spends so much time lauding it around the world? I don't know how many trips in the last 2 years he's up to now on that private jet of his that we pay for. 30 or 40 trips, whatever it is. But do you think it's because he doesn't want to upset anyone, even if they are technically our enemies, because it might actually stop him meeting them at the G7, where he's at now, or indeed at Davos, which, don't forget, is his favourite place over and above the parliamentary democracy that is represented by Westminster. What is it with this guy?
When it comes to China, we don't annoy them because we need them for money. And also, they basically own everything. They own portions of the telecommunications, energy sector. They're in the grid. Not to mention the most important one. That's actually the ports. That's our import and export access for trade. So therefore, they've got a grip on our economy like you don't know what. And then you've got Ed Miliband and his net zero lunacy, and guess who's leading that? Oh yes, China. So yet again, we're more in debt to them, more in debt to them, and more in debt to them. When it comes to Russia, it's a very similar situation. Let's look at the amount of Russian laundering of money that goes on here in London. And when it comes to the property market, unfortunately, we're rather reliant on the bad guys because we don't have an economy, we don't have any resilience. So we thought it was a great idea to throw a party when President Xi turned up. Well, unfortunately, these things have a consequence, and we're living through them. It's successive establishments, just all of it really, that has been so ineffective when it comes to standing up for Britain. It's terrifying because I go back to the point that in Parliament, the Speaker had to deliver a red notice. That means that an active amount, a concerning amount of spying and espionage is happening. That is unprecedented. I know it's an overused word these days, but that is unprecedented. And nobody seemed to do anything about it, and nobody seemed to care. I find that terrifying, considering the fact that we don't have an army, we don't have anything else to defend ourselves.
Well, we will be talking later on, actually, to Frank Faridi, who will have something to say, I'm sure, on our political class, Pete, and actually why we're in this mess, which might have a lot to do with the fact that we select the wrong people to be our politicians in the first place, including, undoubtedly, as we've just rehearsed over the last 10 minutes, Sadiq Khan and Keir Starmer. Mate, I think I've got to let you go, which is really annoying, isn't it? Because you seem to have restored your internet connection. So it's a shame. And we got through it without really throwing too many objects at each other. Anyway, I forgive you, Peter Barnes. I do forgive you. And maybe we'll invite you back at some point in the future. I guess, what are we doing now? I think a bit of news. Yeah, I've got news here. I've got news. Let's do some news.
Good morning. I'm Edward Hughes with your Tuesday Bulletin. Prime Minister Keir Starmer has announced a major crackdown. Social media platforms like TikTok and YouTube will be banned for under 16s by next spring, one of the toughest measures worldwide. Tech firms are pushing back, while ministers lobby international partners. In security news, BBC investigations link Russia to arson attacks on Starmer's properties, with evidence of efforts to stoke UK tensions. Separately, UK forces seized a Russian Shadow Fleet oil tanker in the Channel. Economy. The UK saw a 0.1% contraction in April, partly blamed on the recent Iran conflict fallout. Other notes include ongoing political pressures on defence spending and local incidents like a nursery car crash. Politics, security and child safety dominate the agenda. Remember to like and subscribe. Laters, Tigers.
Thank you, Edward, for a fantastic summary there. He'll be back later on in the show. I have requested yet again Fiona, but I'm told that she is the preserve of the Mike Graham show. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. I think that's outrageous. Maybe if enough of you vote for Fiona, and I know she's very polarising, but maybe we'll get to see Fiona to do our news every now and again instead of Edward, who is very good indeed. I'm not suggesting anything else, but yeah, let's mix it up a little bit. Let's now talk about potholes. This seems to be, I was going to say, the favourite subject of many of you, but one that really irritates and indeed causes damage and cost to thousands and thousands of motorists on an annual basis. Delighted to say hello to Mark Morell. Mark, how are you?
Good morning. Well, very pleased to be on your show. See you many times on GB News and on with Mike. And now you're a county councillor in Essex that's a green awarded rated council that declared an emergency when you soon came in power and realised the shit that's there.
Well, yes, indeed. Yeah, I could have put it better myself. Look, first of all, when I say how are you, I mean, how are you? Seriously, because I think you've been a bit under the weather.
I'm waiting for a heart procedure.
A heart procedure?
Yeah. Yeah. So,
the stresses are talking about potholes for a living.
Possibly, but I think I give more stress than I take, actually.
Good.
Interesting,
right, so,
you said about Calm. There's a £1.3 billion road maintenance backlog in TfL under his watch.
Yeah, well, you'd think that all of that money. You think that all of that money that he's collecting from the motorists would actually be spent on roads and the motorists, wouldn't you? How big a problem are potholes across Britain?
It's a national scandal, international scandal. I've done filming with French television and Spanish, and even as far away as an American Canada. I mean, we're an international laughing stock. To put it in context, there's a nearly £19 billion backlog in carriageway maintenance. So that's a bit curb to curb in England and Wales, and it's growing now. I'm a bit sad, really, because back in the year 2000, there was a parliamentary paper that wanted about a 10-year plan to clear that backlog, which was £3.75 billion. And obviously Blair and Brown didn't choose to do it, and the roads minister that tried to do it obviously didn't succeed. Now we're at £19 billion, but that's just the carriageways. You've got the £6 billion backlog in bridge maintenance in the country. You've got footways, you've got bridges, you've got drainage, street lighting. So you're talking probably near £30 billion. And I've done a recent graphic showing the size of the task, also showing how much government waste, and another graphic I think I sent in showing how much road users actually pay, because we hear about 23-24 billion pound in fuel duty, but if you include the VAT on that, VAT on everything and sundry and insurances and repairs and car sales, company car tax, you're talking anything around 65 to 82 billion pounds a year, yet government only give 1.6 billion pounds to councils to carry out the work. And you'll find that particularly in Essex.
Well, I know a bit about that, but obviously I am elected in Essex, and Essex has declared a pothole emergency for good reason, because of the state of the roads and the fact that they've been neglected significantly. But let's talk about why potholes get neglected. So these councils, whether it's Essex or Kent or Norfolk, Suffolk, wherever, they have huge budgets, partly funded by government, partly funded by the local taxpayer by way of the council tax, the precept effectively. So why is it that potholes seem to be more of a problem than ever, but why simply does the money not get allocated to fixing them rather than the problem becoming a bigger and bigger problem? So what's going wrong in local government?
Well, it's not only local government, central government. It's been, successes. I challenge councils, and to be fair, Reform have taken over a load of councils who've got a massive history in terms of backlog and neglect. We've cut back on resurfacing. Potholes are only a sign of failure. When we have this thing, we've repaired so many thousand potholes, that's a sign of neglect. It ain't a sign of success. Now, if you use Surrey, for example, the last show I did with Mike and Kelvin asked how much Surrey was spending on the precept. They don't spend any of their precept. They rely on government money because of demands on social care and costs. I think we need a complete revolution, and it is decades of underinvestment from the 90s. And if you want to go really back on it, councils used to work under a thing called the Public Utility Street Works Act for utilities works, and they had to do all the repairs of reinstatements by utilities. Now, they used to charge in Westminster, for example, 3 times what I could get it done through by a contractor. So that used to go into their general fund. When they brought in the new Roads and Streetworks Act in 1991, they lost an income stream. And ever since then, it's been declining money on an asset that's getting older. The average road surface lasts around 20 years. And if you look at the Alarm Survey report, you'll be lucky to have your road resurfaced on current monies in 97 years. So it's a complete sign of failure. And from a property point of view, you'll understand that. If you've got a wooden window frame, and you rub it down and paint it every 5 years, it will last forever. It'll outlast UPVC. If you neglect it, you then have to cut out parts of it, and eventually you have to replace the whole window. And that's what's happened with our road network. It doesn't take rocket science. In places like Holland, they resurface their roads every 12 years.
So they don't have potholes because they're resurfacing the roads. And tell us, I don't know if you have any horrifying data, Mark, around the amount of people that have damage caused to their cars. What does that look like in terms of the amount of cars damaged every year across the country, the value of that damage? Can you give us a sense?
Let's go much on the human side. It's reported that 1 cyclist a week is killed or seriously injured as a result of potholes. Over 70 bikers are killed or seriously injured each year as a result of badly maintained roads. So not only the pothole, the material, the screed and the detritus that comes out of those potholes can cause them to lose control. Then we've got the ongoing cost that is costing the economy It's estimated badly maintained roads are costing the economy as of 2024 £14.4 billion. So my argument is you need to invest to save. There is an appetite in the general public to do away with vehicle excise duty as it is and make it a road tax. If you use that road tax purely ring fenced, which Treasury don't like the bean counters, into maintaining our roads, then I think you get a lot more understanding. And I think even road users might be willing to pay a little bit more because they're paying for it in other ways.
I was going to say, so some councils, when they issue their council tax demands at the beginning of every financial year, so around April, they often include an additional social care precept. So that's an amount of money that gets collected by everybody to pay specifically for elderly and vulnerable people in care. Do you think there's an argument then for a pothole emergency precept on people's council tax bills? Would you think they?
I don't think it should come off council tax. I think it should come out of the money that the government are pulling in. You'll see the graphic of how much money, that 65 to 82 billion pounds that road users are paying all forms of taxation, that should be squarely used, because at the end of the day, every road user wants good roads, and the amount of money going into central government should be allocated. Now, it's up to the bean counters to save the money. It's a case of it being a priority. It's always a priority to politicians at elections. And I did a poem just before the election saying the hypocrisy, because they all want to stand point at potholes. I mean, Rishi did it. I wouldn't have called it a pothole, what he was pointing at, but they're great. And then suddenly after the election, they can't do anything. The task is too difficult. I mean, Mr. Pottle's got no politics. I'll talk to any political party about if they genuinely want to do it. And I give advice and information to councillors from all parties. I think I tagged you in something this morning where a councillor in Wolverhampton was waxing lyrical about a fantastically resurfaced road. It's great. But behind her, there's a manhole that hasn't been cut in and had a mastic around it. So I can guarantee you'll have a pothole there in a very short period of time because they're not engineering for value.
Yeah. And Mark, presumably, but presumably you're in demand, right? So you must have councils queuing up left, right and centre to speak to you, to have you come in as a consultant, ringing your 0898 pothole emergency hotline, whatever it is. If that isn't a thing, Mark, it should be. I bet they're queuing up. And, I know the answer to that question. They're not, are they?
I frighten the life out of them.
Right, well, because you'll expose their incompetence when it comes to the fact that potholes aren't being fixed.
Yes. And I get videos sent to me of extremely poor practice. I've had a video. The most graphic one was guys in a council up north where one guy's wearing sliders, no safety boots, and they're compacting the tarmac in a pothole with a gas canister.
Wow. What? And that's what? Not on a private road. That's council contractors in sliders using, let's just say, inappropriate tools to fix a pothole. Yeah. Really?
Yeah, exactly.
Which council was that? Can you name and shame?
I can't remember at the moment, to be honest. I don't mind naming and shame, but I can't remember. I get so many. I mean, I'm thinking on my website.
As long as it wasn't Essex after May the 7th. I might have something to do with that then.
Yeah, I'm thinking on my website, the Pothole Truth, because I've done 13 years of campaign. Now, I've tried their games in terms of petitioning, lobbying, and all your usual things. And now it's got to the stage where I thought the gloves are off. I've set up my website, and it's called the Pothole Truth because I'm going to highlight all of the things that I get sent and the intelligence. I've got a growing network inside the industry, inside councils, of people that are giving me information, others that have come out of it that are being more vocal because they're not exposed so much. So the Pothole Truth is growing in terms of input. I've got people doing articles for me. I've got the legal framework for using Highways Act Section 56 with templates so that you can hold your council to account in court to get your roads repaired. I intend to be the biggest pain in the backside till the next election. I'm going to produce over the coming months a complete blueprint and strategy for any political party to pick up and run with that will fix pothole Britain, providing they've got the balls to do so. We need a culture change. We need improved training. We need to use AI. It's not just about money. That's 75 to 80% of it in terms of funding on resurfacing programs. But there's a massive amount can be done. There's millions of pounds being wasted, probably hundreds of millions of pounds. Example, I got on a diversion because a road being shut last Monday and had to do 42 miles through parts of Hampshire purely at random. And they are an amber rated authority, and I would agree they're amber rated. However, in one of the villages on the junction, they were repairing a minor defect. There were 3 vehicles and 6 guys carrying out repair. One guy doing the work and the other standing around. Total inefficiency. And I get it from councillors saying, oh, yeah, but I only pay that price in the contract. But as you know, with contracts, you're paying it within the contract somewhere along the line. The current contractors don't give you freebies.
Yeah, well, look, Mark, well said. Thank you, that man. Big round of applause from the thousands of people watching this. When you have put that document together, I mean this, can you send it to me? Because I will send it to the cabinet member for Highways in Essex, Mark Webster, who's a great guy, and he's on it, but he's only 4 weeks in. But I think he would be he would value any possible help that he can get from an expert like yourself. Final word, Mark.
I want to say, if he wants any independent advice, I give independent. I work in complete sort of secrecy with a number of councillors, because obviously they go in there, they're reliant on officers and what they're being told, and I've highlighted that. And some of them are able to tackle their officers with questions. One big thing, every highways authority in this country should be made mandatory to publish their total road maintenance backlog annually, what their budgets are, what the length of their network is, and what they're doing, what they're able to do and what they're not able to do. Because if you can highlight that, then people might understand what the situation is, and that might force central government to fund it. And I mean, if there's a change of government, which hopefully will be as soon as we can get an election as possible, then funding of that could be actually very interesting in terms of the way things could be done.
Well, Mark, I mean this. Stay close. Stay close. Now that we've connected, let's keep talking. Mark Morell there, Mr. Pothole himself. Thank you very much indeed. A very deep subject. See what I did there. What are we doing now? I think we're doing Melts of the Day, talking of inefficiency and incompetence. This is a little segment which clearly has no jingle, otherwise Elena would have just played it. Shall I pause for the jingle? There isn't one, is there?
No,
shall I sing it?
You,
Melts of the Day. There you go. Did you hear that? Elena, do that again.
I don't think I can repeat that.
No, she can't. She's a one-trick pony there in terms of jingles. Right, so no, this is a segment that you're going to love. In fact, there's going to be 2 similar segments. One is Melts of the Day, which is generally kind of politicians doing and saying stupid things. And then also later on, we'll have our Nuggets of Nonsense, which we invented yesterday, which is kind of parody, comedy stuff from around the internet. But first off, let's play you some clips. This is green politicians that apparently accidentally and coincidentally bumped into each other on a bench. You'll see in the background, though, there is a Green Party gazebo, and delighted in showing off to each other all of the wonderful, wonderful things that they're doing as Green members of Parliament.
Oh, hi, Sarah. Oh, hi, Hannah. How you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. What are you eating?
Oh, I've got an Uncle Jade Red Bull. Do you want it?
Yeah, no, I'd love it, thanks.
Oh, great. I'll get another one.
Great. What have you been up to?
Oh, you know how it is. Calling out sexist reform politicians, stopping Labour from flip-flopping on the issues, and more importantly, making sure that people know about our really awesome policies so that they can have like hope for a better future.
That sounds great, yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
What about you? What have you been doing?
Same, really, yeah. Fighting for more equality, challenging the super rich, calling out the establishment, and listening to people.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Better crack on, better we?
Nice to see you.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
So no policy, no holding anybody to account, just wandering around a park aimlessly, bumping into each other, it seems, and just chatting rubbish. This goes down as, that is actually a Green Party video that they produced and was put out on their social media channels yesterday. We should have significant and huge confidence in the Green Party, shouldn't we? Particularly if it all goes horribly wrong, if you are on the centre-right of the political spectrum in Britain and they end up forming a coalition with Andy Burnham and the Labour Party in the coming years. It doesn't even bear thinking about, does it? Let's turn now to another MP, and this is a Lib Dem, Jess Brown Fuller, that wants to talk to you and indeed her 6-year-old daughter about Keir Starmer's social media ban.
When we were growing up, we didn't have all of these platforms that we had to deal with. We didn't have things like...
That sounds like noise.
It was nice.
So let's start this kind of argument.
Okay, well, let's not call it an argument. Let's call it a conversation.
Half. Let's say half argument, half conversation.
YouTube can be good.
Yeah, it is good.
Not all the time.
I don't know why you're banning it. Sometimes watching or playing is kind of how I relax.
Do you know how many mummies and daddies wrote to your mummy to say that they wanted to get YouTube and all of the other platforms banned for children like you? Hundreds.
Why did you make it ban YouTube?
Because I want to keep all of the children safe online.
It's just hard.
I know, baby.
I don't even know who this government guy is.
Keir Starmer.
What does that mean?
That's his name. He's the Prime Minister.
Ladies and gentlemen, tell me what you think about Jess Brown-Fuller, a Liberal Democrat Member of Parliament, trying to either make a point or increase her profile on social media even further by using her 6-year-old daughter to talk about a social media ban. Now, the irony should not be lost on you that Jess Brown-Fuller seemingly wants to see a ban on social media for under 16s, but has actually used a video on social media with her 6-year-old daughter, substantially under 16 therefore, for the purposes of advancing that argument. Do you see the irony, maybe even the hypocrisy there? That shouldn't be lost on you. Some would say totally and utterly inappropriate for her to be using her child for political purposes, albeit you can only see her daughter's the back of her head. But a daughter also visibly uncomfortable. What the hell is going on with these people? What is it that went through Jess Brown-Fuller's mind yesterday where she thought, I know what's a good idea. Let me put a video of my daughter crying her eyes out in trauma at the fact that we're going to be taking away her YouTube and her Snapchat or whatever else it is that that particular child is used to viewing on screen, for the purposes of advancing my career within the Liberal Democrats. Now, I know career and Liberal Democrat are not normally words you see in the same sentence, but I think it's absolutely and utterly appalling, don't you? Let me know what you think in the comments. Anyway, it gets better. Although that might actually win, I think, the clip of the day there. Let's also turn to Andy Burnham, who we talk about a lot. Burnham the burger flipper. I know, right? Yeah. So that's Andy Burnham. He is dishing out burgers to the people of Makerfield. That actually could be seen as a thing called treating. In election law, without boring you too much, there is such a thing as not bribing the electorate. In other words, don't give the electorate things in return for their vote for you. It might well be, and I'm just suggesting, that Andy Burnham might be in a little bit of trouble there, giving out burgers as a politician just 4 days away from a by-election on the basis that some would say, maybe I'm not an election expert, some would say that that might be seen as treating people to burgers, which he may or may not have made himself. One final one before we turn to our next fabulous guest, which is James Cleverly, looking for something, it seems.
Our armed forces' ability to defend the United Kingdom.
Sorry, just do that again, Elena. What was that?
Our armed forces' ability to defend the United Kingdom.
James Cleverly, bird watching in the House of Commons there. What on earth was that about? I'll tell you what I think it was, what we think it was the fact that the opposite benches didn't have many opposition MPs there. So I think in a very childish and performative way, James Cleverly there, front bench Conservative MP, former Home Secretary amongst other things, pretending to look for the Labour MPs that clearly don't exist. What a melt. Let me know which one of those is your favourite. For me, it's the Lib Dem MP that chooses to put their child up to make a point about social media bans and does it using a child on social media. Seems very, very odd, doesn't it? And very, very strange. But anyway, okay, we've got a guest in the studio. That stuff happens here as well. Jessalyn Kane, hello.
Hello, thank you for having me on.
It's all right. Good to meet you.
Good to meet you too.
So what's your thing? You're a Conservative Home columnist, apparently. So you write stuff about all things Conservative with a small c or just with a big C?
A small C now, and I'm not really a columnist. I've only written 3 articles for them.
That's a columnist. I've only done 2 shows, and apparently I'm a broadcaster. In fact, I haven't even done 2 shows. I've done 1.5.
Don't flatter me.
So what's your thing?
I'm really into local government, but really for me, what I've drawn most my attention towards is this by-election in Makerfield. I really hold the view that everyone in the right should unite behind Rob Kenyon. I don't think that's sadly going to happen, but that is my view, because there is no other candidate who could potentially beat Andy Burnham. You do have Rebecca Shepherd. She's polling at, 10% now? That's what I saw. The Restore candidate. And when she was announced, I was actually quite excited because it said that she was going to do loads of SEND stuff. I'm really big on SEND policy. My mum's disabled, so I really follow that. But you've just seen hide nor hair of her. She's been nowhere.
Do you think that Rupert Lowe has kept her out of the limelight because she had a bit of a disastrous interview 2 or 3 weeks ago? I mean, is she local? Forgive me, I don't know. Is she a local Makerfield person?
I don't think she lives within the Makerfield constituency. I think only 2 candidates live inside the Makerfield constituency, and that's the Reform candidate and the Conservative candidate.
Yeah.
But I don't think she loves live in Makerfield. However, I just think her interview was such a fiasco that she has been pulled from the limelight.
What went wrong for her? I mean, as I understand it, she did an interview where she was asked why she got involved with the Restore movement, the Restore Party, and she said that she'd seen something on Facebook, and when she was asked apparently what that was and what the document and the policy related to, she didn't know. So, you know, I think it's unfair to criticise someone that, you know, is a person of the people, a man or woman of the people that goes into politics, and then expect them to be as polished as, let's say, I don't know, a Rishi Sunak, a Boris Johnson, I was going to say Keir Starmer, he's not polished at all. So I think it's very unfair to criticise someone like her. However, I would actually criticise, surely, the party that she represents for not briefing her properly as a media performer beforehand.
Definitely. She should have been briefed and given some media training. I do totally feel for her because she is so normal.
Have you met her? You like her?
I haven't met her, but what I saw when she was first announced, I really liked her because I thought, SEND policy, she's normal, she speaks normal, she's got her own business. I thought, okay, this is a woman, you know, I could support potentially. I'm not a Restore supporter, but I liked her.
Yeah.
But
and you like the fact that she's a bit like, I mean, Robert Kenyon's not a career politician, he's a councillor, but you like her because she's not a career politician.
Both of them, Rob Kenyon and Rebecca Shepherd, are very, very normal. You know, they've got very normal backgrounds, which I like. Rob Kenyon especially, you know, he's a plumber. I really like that. He's working class, and it's not a class thing, but it is nice to see someone who isn't so polished, so media trained in the limelight. But I do really feel that interview that she did has sort of made her nervous potentially with any other media performances. She didn't go to the hustings, which I thought was really imperative for her to go to.
Do you think she's been banned from facing the public by Restore?
I don't know. I think that'd be a really bad move if it was. I think really what they should have done is sat her down and given her some media training ASAP. But
they could have done that the day after. Well, before.
They could have, but they didn't brief her.
Failing to do that, they could have done that the next day or the next day, and then ensured that as a candidate, someone that might get 5-10% of the vote, I mean, obviously the jury's out until Thursday night, you would think that they would have pulled her in and, you know, done something by way of that guidance and training so that she could then, for the next 3 weeks of the campaign until polling day, go out and perform, because she's got to do media rounds, and she's certainly got to perform when it comes to speaking to people in the street, doing videos on Facebook. I mean, otherwise, what's that say if she does? I mean, she were to get elected, I mean, doesn't look like she's going to, but that doesn't bode well for her as an MP if she can't speak to a camera.
Well, exactly, and this is the issue. I feel that the Makerfield by-election, of course, has become about national policy. So Andy Burnham, I feel like he's not running to be MP for that area. He's running to be Prime Minister. He's running to have that crown to be coronated. And Rebecca, she's there to damage reform. I'm sorry, but I feel like that's her purpose, to damage reform's chance, because potentially if she wasn't running, reform could potentially get in and you would not have Andy Burnham as Prime Minister. For me, I don't want Andy Burnham as Prime Minister, so that's why I think everyone on the right should unite behind Rob Kenyon. But you can't really say that because Restore supporters, they are a bit malicious and they will jump on you if you criticise even the slightest thing. I put online about Rebecca being disappointing with the fact that she's not gone on to have media performances, that she's not developed her send policy, which I hope to be quite vital in this by-election. And the amount of attacks and abuse that
you've had,
that I've had, but I don't really care about that. But
from Restore supporters, what, so digging you out for being critical,
yes,
for having an opinion, for having exercised your right to free speech on whether a candidate is good enough or not.
Quite right. It has become a sort of echo chamber, an online bubble, and they do attack viciously and hard. And look, the left can be vicious and hard. I've seen that before many times.
I definitely have been subject to that.
Of course, but it seems like Restore have their own sort of echo chamber. I'm not saying it's Restore themselves, but their supporters online, such as on Twitter, they do attack in hordes. Even if you're making a perfectly reasonable comment, if it's not 100% in support, they'll go for you.
But it's not that they're advancing an argument counter to yours. They're not engaging in debate.
They're not engaging in debate, which I hate.
They're just abusing.
They're just abusing. They're just coming for you on your looks, on your gender, which, to be honest, I don't care.
The gender?
Well, yes, because...
attacking you because you dared to have an opinion as a woman?
As a woman, oh dear.
Wow, that's kind
incredible.
of Sharia-like, isn't it?
I know, but...
That's at the opposite end of the political spectrum. So
I know.
hang on, you're saying that Restore supporters, maybe not party members, but people on social media, are attacking you for daring to have an opinion as a woman?
Not just me as well. Many other women on the right who have come to the same conclusions as me that we should unite behind Rob Kenyon. A lot of abuse has been directed towards them, and I don't think it's right. You know, you can't really help it, but it doesn't bode well for them optically. It makes them just look like a party of haters.
Yeah.
And I do think if Andy Burnham were to get in as this MP, he will most likely be the Prime Minister. And it's with that mandate, is he going to hit, for instance, when Labour got in 2024, I believe that they had a 1.5 million housing target that they said that they were going to hit.
Over 5 years, the course of the Parliament, yes. But
and
that then increased, actually.
Yes, but they've not hit anywhere near that.
No, they haven't.
And they have now brought in some new laws to combat that, the Planning and Infrastructure 2025, but it's useless.
I can tell you a bit about that. So, because property is my background, so this is just, this nonsense. Pooch pulls me out of bed every morning, not gets me out of bed, pulls me out of bed every morning, puts me here, and I just do this. But my real job is in the property sector. Angela Rayner announced 300,000 homes a year as a target for the Labour government. Then that increased to 350,000. The outcome, in terms of what they're actually building, is about 180 to 190,000 homes. So they're now 2 years into their tenure, nowhere near that target. I mean, who knew that politicians would set targets and say things by way of promise and pledge that they wouldn't then actually achieve? So do you think Andy Burnham will be worse than Keir Starmer, better or the same?
Well, I think Andy Burnham will struggle to hit the targets that Labour said.
But it would just change them, though, wouldn't he?
Well, I don't think he'd have a mandate because he's the usurper.
But would he just lurch even further to the left?
I think he would lurch further to the left. Look, he's a flip-floppy candidate. He's U-turned on trans, same-sex bathrooms. He's U-turned on the EU. He was very flirtatious with the EU. Now he's changed his mind. He wants to renationalise all these industries, which I totally disagree with. Look, for me, I don't think Andy Burnham is the man for the job. And also, I don't think he has the same mandate. He's not ideologically similar to Keir Starmer at all. So he wouldn't have the mandate. I think he would need to call a snap election like Theresa May did. She didn't have a mandate, so she was forced to call a snap election.
Talk us through then why he would call a snap election, given that actually the Labour Party now have a mandate by way of kind of rule of tenure, if you like, until 2029. So they don't have to call, even with a new Prime Minister, an election until sometime late in 2029. Talk us through why, and there has been this kind of wisdom imparted over the last few days, that if Andy Burnham wins, he'd call an immediate general election. Try and talk us through, in terms of the viewers, the logic behind that. Why would he do that?
Well, Andy Burnham, I don't think would have the mandate to continue because he is seen as a usurper to Sir Keir Starmer. And because he's usurped him, he's taken control of a group of MPs that he wasn't even elected with himself when they got into government, he would not have the confidence of the other MPs in the House, in my opinion, to lead this government. And I think he would then be forced to, at some point, maybe not immediately, because I have seen that he has said he will call a snap election immediately, and I've said that he will wait until 2029 before doing another campaign. We don't know, it's all up in the air. But I do think, following on from Theresa May, when she became the Prime Minister, she said, no, I'm not calling a snap election, no, I'm not calling a snap election. But the pressure from the media and from the other MPs...
So from backbenchers?
Yeah, from backbenchers, it got to her in the end, and she had to. If the Labour Party, look, it's infighting, it's turning on each other all the time. Even with Sir Keir Starmer at the helm, we've seen it multiple times. Wes Streeting, he rose up these, 100 group of MPs and then left with his tail between his legs. I think
although he did resign, in fairness to Wes Streeting.
He did resign.
So he might have an iota of principle, perhaps.
Yes, of course, I do think that. But I think he was too cowardly to sort of take the fight to Sir Keir Starmer. He didn't strike when the time was right, and fair enough, he resigned, but he left with his tail between his legs.
Yeah.
And actually, I gained a lot of respect for Sir Keir Starmer out of that.
You're the only one in the country,
yeah.
apart from bus drivers, nurses and doctors, who are all waiting for a nice big fat 20% pay rise when Andy Burnham becomes Prime Minister, potentially. Do you think there's some truth, though, in if Andy Burnham does lurch to the left as Prime Minister, if he becomes Prime Minister, and he does all of the things that we are worried about, those of us on the centre-right, around immigration, the EU, and particularly around the economy, borrowing more, bloating the public sector, spend. Do we think that the consequence of that 6 to 12 months down the line is so grave for the country that he knows Labour will never, ever get elected, or maybe not for the next kind of 15, 20 years? So therefore, because he'll get, I guess, what you'd call a honeymoon bounce.
Yes, of course.
Because the media, the Labour Party backbenchers, and many members of the public might say, we got rid of Starmer now after 2 years. Great, we've got a new Prime Minister. Andy Burnham's pretty slick. He's
very
pretty
popular.
Good. He's popular, pretty good as a performer. So the only chance that Labour have in the medium to long term is to go for a general election to get themselves another 5 years. But also, to your point, if they do it, it will then be a government, a fresh government, run by Andy Burnham, that then can govern on his terms with his mandate and his manifesto. So it kind of does make sense. Do you think that's going to happen, though?
I don't know, to be honest. I think he will have to call a snap election if he does get elected. But then it's all up in the air because there's so many Labour MPs who have said that they might lose their seats if a snap election is being called to reform.
Do you think the parties are ready? So the Conservatives, the Lib Dems, Reform, do you think the part, and I say this again, taking my Reform hat off, I kind of know the answer from Reform's point of view, but
I don't think Reform...
Are they ready?
I don't think Reform is ready yet. I think they could be a government in waiting. They have a lot of the country's support. They have a lot of the country's backing. Their common sense. It's quite easy to understand the allure of Reform and Nigel Farage. Is
there a buck coming?
No, actually. I do think at a next general election, Reform could become the next government of this country in 2029. I don't know if now is the right time for them to have a general election because...
Well, they wouldn't be in control of it. I mean, maybe that's another reason why Burnham would call one. Because, of course, he's already got 400 MPs in place, so they'd all immediately, presumably, stand again in their constituencies. Maybe it wrong foots Reform on the basis that, have Reform selected all their parliamentary candidates for the next election? No, of course they haven't. Nor of the Conservatives, nor of the Greens, nor of the Liberal Democrats. So maybe there's a...
Well, look, there'd be a hunt for candidates, right? And they'd really have to sort of get those candidates in, vet them, make sure they're okay, get them out, media training, everything. It would be a huge campaign.
Would you be one of them?
No, definitely not. I'm definitely not nowhere near ready to be an MP at my age.
Why?
Maybe in 20 years.
Why?
Too young and I'm too gobby.
Gobby's good. Gobby, principled, kind of stand up. No, that's
Angela
good.
Rayner.
Angela Rayner, yeah, very, very gobby. Look, I think there's no... I don't think there's any detriment to being gobby as an MP. I don't even think age is a hindrance. I think we need a huge mix of ordinary people that haven't come up through Conservative central office, Labour Party central office, people that have either been students or have been in business or in commerce.
Are you trying to sign me up?
No. I'm just no. And again, I say this with no political affiliation. I think that we need an absolute. We'll talk about this later on with Frank Furedi, who's a kind of professor of politics. I have two major issues with politics right now, and it isn't the kind of red, blue, green, yellow, turquoise thing. One is the civil service and the blob. We'll do that on another day. But the other issue I have is the selection of people to be our representatives.
I completely
then
agree.
become MPs, and then they become Home Secretary, Foreign Secretary, Prime Minister, and so on. These people are not fit for purpose. Conservative, Lib Dem, Labour, or whatever. Reform, we don't know yet because there's only 8 Reform MPs. But
well, look, but Reform are being tested right now, aren't they? Because they have done fantastically at a local level. I'm really into local government. I follow local government, and I really think Reform, they are building their reputation nationally right now, locally. That's why so much of the media, in my opinion, is centred on local government right now. You're always seeing local government in the news recently.
Because the media see local government performance as a test for damage.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly my point.
I think most Reform councils see that too.
Exactly. So there is some pressure on Reform to really perform well and make sure that they're listening to the country. But most of those councillors, potentially, if they do well, they could go on to become MPs themselves. That would save Reform some vetting process and time, right?
Well, I mean, Reform and every party, the Conservatives, Labour, Reform and the Lib Dems, had to vet about 5,000 candidates each for the local elections. The only party that didn't was Restore, because they only stood in 9 seats in Great Yarmouth, which they did very well in fairness.
They did fantastically
Albeit
well.
they didn't stand as Restore, they stood as the Great Yarmouth First Party. That was a bit odd, don't you think? Why not stand as Restore and get the brand out there on national media?
Well, I think the branding is very similar, and everyone knows that Great Yarmouth First is associated with Rupert
But everybody
Lowe.
in Great Yarmouth knew that, but I'm not sure that would translate to Aylesbury and to Wilmslow, for instance.
I think Rupert Lowe is very popular in his constituency, and I think he's very popular nationally with his rape gang inquiry. He has become a household name, but I don't think he has that hold nationally, especially with some of the people that are within Restore. You do see a dark turn to the right for some of their social media influencers and people who are involved in the party. They have gone on and said some pretty radical stuff about ethno-nationalism and stuff, which I don't think the country is willing to talk about yet.
Let's talk about youth in politics. I haven't asked how old you are. I've got no idea. I'm not asking you because apparently that's rude to ask someone. I don't know, that's a very Victorian thing, isn't it? You can't ask someone how old they are. I'm 58, by the way. You probably guessed that. Why are people that are young, I mean, I'm assuming you're in your 20s.
I'm 25.
Okay, thank you for telling me, and everybody else that's watching. Why are young people now getting engaged in politics again? Because there has been a disengagement by those in their kind of teens and early 20s for years and years and years. Why are you attracted into politics now? So, okay, you said that you're not ready to be a member of parliament. You know, maybe in 10, 20 years' time you'll decide to. But you are active. I mean, you are writing, you're on this show. Why are young people getting involved?
Well, look, I think I personally have a bit of a unique experience. I was in foster care as a teenager. I went into care at 13. So that is a political experience because you have a corporate parent. And I remember as a teenager, I went in, I had a chip on my shoulder, I was angry at the world, you know, I wasn't allowed to do anything, why aren't I allowed to do anything? And I'm so cross. And my social worker explained to me, well, it's because you're under Surrey County Council, who was my local authority. And I got really interested at that point, myself personally. So I've been interested in politics since I was about 13, 14.
Well, because you were in the care system, effectively.
Yes, because you don't get a say over your own life. The care system, they dot all the I's and they cross all the T's, and you don't have a lot of control over your own life. And it's very easy. I grew up with a lot of other peers in care, and they've gone down really bad paths, which is just so sad. You know, they've gone down into drugs, you know, they're homeless, they struggle to find employment. And that also incentivized me to get into politics because I thought to myself, what's happening? There is something so clearly broken here. So for me, that was what got me influenced and involved. But I was never particularly left-wing, whereas most people who are involved in politics are left-wing when they start out.
What, you mean people of your age or people that have come up through the care system?
People my age, to be fair, the only other two people I know from the care system who are in politics, one of them's in Reform and one of them's a Lib Dem. So I've never actually met too many politically active care leavers, but they've never been particularly left-wing. I think they're a bit disillusioned by champagne socialists, as was I, because I thought it was a bit of a mockery. I'm working class, right?
But I have been in and out of politics for the last 20 or 30 years. And although I was pretty active as a 14, 15-year-old when I used to argue with my history teacher in my comprehensive school in Basildon, I was on the right, of course. I was a Thatcherite. He was an absolute Marxist, and we used to argue in history lessons. No, it was probably at the time was...
But it's useful, right? It helps you develop your ideas, your understanding.
Completely. So it was probably totally inappropriate. If I'd told my mum and dad, I think they would have had a real issue with it. But I loved it, yes, because it was critical thinking. It was banter, which wasn't actually taught as a subject. But now, since then, I've rarely come across youngsters in politics. All of a sudden now, you've got the likes of Ellie Hodges, who was on the Mike Graham show literally until 10 o'clock.
One of my best friends.
Is she?
Yes.
Well, she's 19, isn't she?
Yes.
19. And, you know, she very much holds her own as a kind of person with an old political head on young shoulders in any debate. You know, she's on GB News, she's on our channels.
She is phenomenal.
She's phenomenal. In Essex, in the last election, so 52 people got elected to Reform.
Essex County Council, yes.
Essex County Council, you've got Nathan Robbins, who's 20, Annie Marie, who's...
Annie May.
Annie May, sorry, who is, I think, 21.
Jamie McIver?
Jamie McIver, yeah, he's old, Jamie.
Oh, I thought
he's in his late 20s,
I don't
early
know.
30s. I'm
Oh,
joking.
wow,
Yeah,
come on,
I'm
that's
saying
not
that
old.
because I know Jamie very well. I'm taking the mickey out of him. No, but I think it's fantastic because it brings a whole new perspective to local politics.
I do think it's interesting because what do all those people have in common? They're all part of Reform. A lot of Reform selling point is actually that they're platforming young people. I think it's a fantastic selling point for them. You've got so many young people front and centre in Reform, and it looks good because that is sadly what people have started to associate the Tories with.
But do you think it does...
doddering, slow.
You're talking about a lot of county councillors there that seem to get into it when they retire from business or teaching, and the average age can end up being about 73 years old across county councils across the country. But you think young people not just should be involved because we need to nurture people for the future, but do you think they bring a new and different perspective to decisions and policy?
Definitely.
Any examples? Education, for instance, knowing kind of...
Well, look at Ellie Hodges, for example. She has just come out of the education system herself, so she's got a proper first-hand experience of the education system to apply, and she's doing fantastically well with scrutinising the woke left-wing machine in politics. So she's doing phenomenally. That's a fantastic example for you there.
Yeah.
You've got... Annie May, she's doing CPAC next month, this month.
She's speaking at CPAC.
She is, and you know, she's using her platform for good. And I really think that that is what the youth can provide. They can go on TV, and because they've grown up with social media technology, maybe they're a bit more media savvy than other people would have been, say, 30, 40 years ago. And they're able to have that conversation with people because they've grown up watching the news. They've grown up watching the news on TikTok. That's what I used to do when I was younger. You know. And
I guess the left can't criticise youngsters from being involved in politics and being elected because, of course, it's the left generally that want to see votes for 16-year-olds. So, you know, the minute we hear someone on the left saying, well, I'm not going to take you seriously, Ellie, because you're only 18, there'd be a real irony to that, wouldn't there?
Well, a real irony, considering they want to give the 16-year-olds the vote, but they also want to restrict social media for them.
Do you believe in it?
So,
do you agree with the Labour Party and indeed many Conservatives and Lib Dems, including the person that we've just rinsed by way of her video and her daughter, Jess Brown-Fuller, who's a Lib Dem MP. Do you agree that parents should not decide what their kids watch, but that it should be a matter for the government?
Look, now I have an unpopular opinion here because I am somewhat in favour of removing social media for kids because parents, you can't expect them to be the best parents. Look, I grew up in foster care. I didn't come from a great family, and I'm not saying that everyone has awful parents. What I'm saying is that parents are busy. Parents have jobs. I'm not saying that's an excuse, but that is a good argument, because when I was younger in school, I was exposed to a lot of stuff on social media that I should not have been watching.
But then here you are, and you're sensible and articulate, so it doesn't seem to have done you much harm. Maybe, I mean, I'll give you an example. My daughters are 18 nearly next month and 16 and 16. I've got twins. I've got 3 daughters that were born within 15 months of each other.
Ooh.
Whenever they come out with a pearl of wisdom, which often they do, about something that's happening in the world, something economic, something geopolitical,
They've
whatever.
seen it online.
Yeah, I say, how did you know that? And they say, TikTok. And it irritates me that TikTok is seen as this thing that, you know, is almost a pariah and it shouldn't be encouraged.
Well,
but
but
actually,
it is
there's
educational.
an argument. Well, and the lunacy that the government are going to ban YouTube for those under 16.
I think that's outrageous.
But teachers have said, hang on, we use YouTube in our lessons.
No, that's outrageous.
It's not really been thought through, is it?
It's not been thought through at all. So this is where I said I cannot support the ban in this form. I grew up watching YouTube. I'm massively into history. You know, I learned about some niche figures like Jadwiga of Poland, Matilda, Margaret Maid of Norway, all from YouTube. And my political education mostly came from YouTube too, and TikTok, to be fair, in my sort of later teen years, or Musically as it was called back in the day.
Can we just play some clips just to
Yes.
give us some context and get your thoughts on them once they've played out?
Every parent wants the best for their kids. And that's what being a parent means. And for me, for my 2 kids, all I've ever wanted, hand on heart, is for them to be safe and for them to be happy. And the rest is up to them. But you know, I think back to when I was growing up, and I have to say, I think we had it easier. These days, kids have to find their feet in a world that changes so quickly, where technology intrudes into every area of their lives. And we know that harms them. The response from parents in the consultation has been absolutely clear. Thousands of parents say their children are addicted to social media. It can leave them trapped in a cycle of endless scrolling that displaces play, sleep, and time with the family. It can harm their mental health. And frankly, parents need our support on this. That is why today, the government has decided to ban social media access for children under 16. It's a big step for our country. Now, it's not an easy thing to do, I'll be honest about that. We haven't rushed into it. We've looked carefully at the evidence, and we'll have to adapt our approach as technology changes, learn from other countries which are taking similar steps. And it's fair to say that this decision has been resisted.
Oh, sorry. What a sleeping tablet Keir Starmer is. Hey, what was he saying? Something about why it's good to ban social media. Don't agree with him, don't agree with anything he says. I tried to listen, but yeah, nauseating and very sleep-inducing, I think, Jess. Can I call you Jess?
Yes, you may.
Does everyone call you Jess?
Everyone calls me Jess or Jessie.
Jessie. Okay, Jessie. What do you think of Keir Starmer's guff there?
Well, the way he is dressed, I think, is ridiculous. Put on a suit, put on a tie, please. He's done that to sort of look more approachable and come off it, you know.
Starmer, approachable, those 2 words in the same sentence. Let me play you something else, because students have had something to say about this ban. In addition to the daughter, of course, of Jess Brown-Fuller. Maybe we'll play that clip again in a minute. But let's play you this clip first of all.
Please put your hands up, those of you who welcome the ban. Hands up for those who welcome the ban. So this just gives you an idea. I think it's pretty fair to say that most of these students there, 11 to 14, most are pretty disappointed with the ban. Let's just come over to you, Isabella. Tell me how you felt when you heard the Prime Minister say no more social media for you.
I didn't think it would actually happen. I kind of believed that he'd chicken out of it and give it more time or more consideration, but he seems pretty sure of it, and I'm not sure if I agree with him.
What are you most worried about?
Not being able to contact my friends. I don't know what will happen and how it will happen, or whether if there's some technicalities to what apps are restricted, but I use most of my social media to contact my parents and family.
I mean, I think it's worth reminding people, earlier we looked at screen time. What was your screen time over the weekend?
9 hours.
9 hours. So suddenly you're going to have a lot more time to fill. And what will you do?
Stare at a wall.
Brilliant. I mean, look, I think that's the best clip on the internet.
Stare
this
at
week.
a wall. Brilliant.
Stare at a wall. So in other words, you've taken away my right to enjoyment. You've taken away my right to maybe be educated. You've also taken away, she says, my right to speak to my friends and family. That is a very poignant thing for her to say. What a smart girl that she then says, the alternative is I'll just be staring at a wall.
Some sharp wits there from a 14-year-old. I thought very funny indeed. I just think the whole clip, I think it's a bit condescending to go into school and say, guys, put your hands up, please. Who supports us? Obviously, no one's going to support us. They're 14. Of course, they all want to be on social media. Come on. I do think that girl said it how it is, though. Of course, she's not going to know what to do yet. I guess you have to pick up a book or something.
Well, look, I suppose there is that argument that, what did we all do as kids before social media? You won't be able to remember that. I
was on social media.
Where it was kind of, watching Blue Peter and making things out of sticky back plastic, which is sellotape, by the way, and Fairy liquid bottles and toilet rolls. So I don't think we necessarily want to see a return to Blue Peter-esque type activities.
Well,
but this seems like a hammer to crack a nut to me. And unless, of course, you're a Liberal Democrat MP. Can we play this as well, which is this clip 7, I think it is, which is Jess Brown Fuller, Liberal Democrat MP, using her child for political purposes.
When we were growing up, we didn't have all of these platforms that we had to deal with. We didn't have things
That
like...
sounds like noise.
It was nice.
So let's start this kind of argument.
Okay, well, let's not call it an argument. Let's call it a conversation.
Half. Let's say half argument, half conversation.
YouTube can be good.
Yeah, it is good.
Not all the time.
And I don't know why you're banning it. Sometimes watching or playing is kind of how I relax.
Do you know how many mummies and daddies wrote to your mummy to say that they wanted to get YouTube and all of the other platforms banned for children like you? Hundreds.
Why did you make it ban YouTube?
Because I want to keep all of the children safe online.
It's just hard.
I know, baby.
I don't even know who this government guy is.
Keir Starmer.
What does that mean?
That's his name. He's the Prime Minister.
Do you know what I really love about that? Well, I don't love the fact that she's using her child performatively to make a point about social media being banned by using her child on social media. What I really love is that it seems it's now this catch-all thing, whereas if everything goes wrong, if there's a volcano that erupts, or there's a train crash...
It's Keir Starmer.
It's Keir Starmer. As if to say, it's just Keir Starmer, right? It's Keir Starmer.
Do you know what?
It's like a thing, as if it's like this catch-all thing, as if to say, we can't help it, it's Keir Starmer.
I think that video is disgusting. Watching that video, I've seen it on Twitter, of course, and the child, her 4-year-old child, I think 6 years old, sorry.
Crying.
Well, first of all, she makes a better constructive argument than her mother, who is an elected member of parliament.
Yeah, but she's a Lib Dem.
Of course, but look, she doesn't provide a constructive argument to answer her own daughter, which I think is outrageous. She's an MP, come on, at least say something of substance. 2, she allows her child to be recorded crying, and she thinks, okay, and she edits it, puts subtitles on it. Right, that's okay, I'm going to put that on social media, a video of my child crying. Now that is online safety in a nutshell, and she is one of the people who are not following online safety.
Should she know better
She
as a
should know
parent
better.
and as an elected Liberal Democrat member of Parliament?
It is a disgrace.
And I can tell that you feel strongly about it, presumably because of your background.
Yes, certainly. I feel very strongly about the safety of children, and anyone could have any intentions with that video. It's totally inappropriate to put your child on social media crying. I appreciate her face isn't in it, but you can hear her voice, you can see it's a child.
Well, you know the name of the MP as the mother, so you know, it wouldn't take a genius
Exactly.
to work out whatever details you wanted to work out if you
could
intended
probably
to do
find
harm.
out her address.
Yeah.
You know, this is something
But
that...
do you think, Jess, though, that video was
disgusting.
using her child for the
Yes.
purposes of political
Yes.
advancement?
Yes.
So literally, just to try and get a few clicks
Yes.
online, she's put her child in a position that she shouldn't have.
Look, we've seen this before so many times on TikTok with these TikTok influencer families, and they will literally, you'll see this so many times where they'll get their children to cry on camera and they're exploiting their own children. It's sick.
Do you think it's child abuse?
I don't know if it's that far. If she were to continue to do that, I would say, hold on a minute, that is just, you know, that is really bordering on the territory.
Do you think Ed Davey would do anything about it? If there's, I mean, presumably there's.
Well, I think he should have words with her, because I really think that video is just a disgrace. When I saw it, I felt rage.
He might be too busy falling off a kayak or down a roller coaster at Alton Towers to worry about what the very few number of Liberal Democrat MPs he's got and how they're behaving themselves.
Well, look, to be fair, in the 2024 election, he did do a massive pullback of MPs. You've got to give that to Ed Davey. I'm no Lib Dem fan, but come on, he did resurrect the Liberal Democrat Party.
Well, he did, but the argument has to be that given how terrible the Conservatives were and how sceptical people were about Labour and so on, and the fact that reform was still kind of on their way up,
well, look,
the Lib Dems should surely be doing even better as the middle ground party of protest. I mean, the Lib Dems should have 500 MPs in the House of Commons, shouldn't they?
What, like that,
or
that
based on the
council,
fact,
what is it, Richmond, they have 52 out of 52 seats, is
yeah,
that right?
on the basis that they're kind of the none of the above party, and they still can't
actually-
do very well despite the fact that all the other parties are absolutely terrible.
Well, they've done very well in Surrey. I think they're the posh Waitrose mum party.
The lemongrass party,
Yeah.
the Waitrose party. Yeah, wherever there's a Waitrose, they no doubt there's Lib Dem voters. But no, look, it's no, I thought that was absolutely outrageous. Are we getting on to now the news? I guess is it Edward or is it? Can I have Fiona, please?
No, you cannot.
I cannot apparently.
HR, sorry.
Am I saying goodbye to Jess because she's brilliant? Can she stay? Do you want to stay? We can do some. Do you want to do some nuggets of nonsense?
Okay.
Should we do some nuggets of nonsense with Jess? Yeah. Can we do that? Let's go to the news first. We just need to be serious just for 30 seconds.
Good morning, I'm Edward Hughes with your Tuesday Bulletin. Prime Minister Keir Starmer has announced a major crackdown. Social media platforms like TikTok and YouTube will be banned for under 16s by next spring, one of the toughest measures worldwide. Tech firms are pushing back, while ministers lobby international partners. In security news, BBC investigations link Russia to arson attacks on Starmer's properties, with evidence of efforts to stoke UK tensions. Separately, UK forces seized a Russian Shadow Fleet oil tanker in the Channel. Economy. The UK saw a 0.1% contraction in April, partly blamed on the recent Iran conflict fallout. Other notes include ongoing political pressures on defence spending and local incidents like a nursery car crash. Politics, security and child safety dominate the agenda. Remember to like and subscribe. Laters, Tigers.
Hi there, Mark Littlewood here, in Mike Graham's seat. But as of Monday the 15th of June, I'm going to be in a different seat for UK Live, giving you everything you need to know about the World Cup. Is it finally coming home after 60 years? I'll be broadcasting from the beautiful town of Calidore in Mallorca, which has vast numbers of sports bars for me to watch every second of every single match. We're going to have guests, chats, and don't worry if you don't really understand football or if you're not interested in it. This is going to be a sideways take on the biggest sporting tournament that mankind has ever seen. We'll never be offside, but you might sometimes see me bombing down the right wing. We'll be looking at what's happened in the previous night's games, what's going to happen in that evening's games, and we're going to be profiling as many of the countries as we can. There's 48 of them in this year's World Cup. What you need to know about not just France and Argentina and Spain, but Curacao, Haiti, the Cape Verde Islands, the long shot minnows. Be there from noon weekdays on UK Live, joining me for a World Cuppa. See you then.
The revolution will be televised. the revolution will be televised.
Okay, it's 11:40. Welcome back. Another 20 minutes of this before we go over to Mark Littlewood for World Cuppa. I want to introduce into the mix now Frank Furedi, who is a Substack author, and I want to talk to him actually about the political class, why we're in such a mess, and the fact that it is basically the way that politics and politicians are selected. Frank, welcome to the show.
Nice to be with you.
Yeah, no, thank you very much indeed. We're also still joined by Jess Kane, who has got a lot to say actually on politics and youth within politics. So I think this could be quite an interesting three-way mix. I've got some clips though that I'd like to show both of you, and then maybe we can comment between us on those thereafter. First of all, let's look at this, which is about Intifada, and this was a clip that was shared on Trigonometry's social media channels, whilst they're still allowed to. And Christian, I forget his Christian Kissin, isn't it? Yes, Konstantin Kissin. And he asks protesters that are holding banners what the banners that they are holding actually mean. And the answer is fascinating and both that and hilarious. Watch this.
The New Workers' Party, a socialist alternative to Sunak and Starmer, for a socialist intifada.
Yeah.
What's a socialist intifada?
If I'm being honest with you, I just got this at the stand over there.
Oh, okay.
I don't actually know the definition of the word intifada.
Okay.
But, I mean...
Do any of you know the definition of the word intifada?
Frank, worrying and very funny. I mean, look, you're a political academic. What do you make of the fact that people will walk around the streets of London holding things that say, bring on a socialist intifada, without actually knowing the implications of what it is that they're advocating?
Well, I think it's better that they don't know what that means, because that's just simply a question of being ignorant. Whereas if they knew what intifada really meant and its scary consequences, and they still supported it, that would be even more worrying. But I think
explain. What does it mean?
Well, the thing is that at the moment, for most people, intifada is just a rhetoric, a rhetorical accomplishment, which sounds really cool, and it's something you say when you're wearing your Palestinian scarf. But intifada, if they knew what it really meant, it's really much about violent resistance, about the legitimation of violent behavior. And if they understood that and still supported it, that would be even more worrying, because then they wouldn't just simply be showing off their Palestinian scarf, but would be indicating their readiness to get stuck into exercise of violence.
Frank, does it sit alongside support for Palestine action then? Because we saw, in fact, we've got a clip of this. We saw some of the people on the streets of London yesterday after a court ruling that said that the government were justified in banning Palestine action. Are you saying that calling for a socialist intifada is effectively along the same lines and in parallel to, adjacent to, the purposes of Palestine action?
Yes, see, they assume, these people, that they got the moral authority to do whatever they feel like. That includes sabotage, that includes beating people up, that includes intimidation. They assume that for some reason, God has chosen them to have this extraordinary power, that somehow they're above us all, and therefore people like you and me should be, easily intimidated, and we should basically shut up and let them get on with it. So this arrogant, anti-democratic expression is something that, in a sense, is inconsistent with the values of a civilized democratic society, and we should therefore fight them tooth and nail.
Yeah. Let's just play a clip. This is scenes outside, I think, the court of, or the High Courts of Justice, I think in the Strand yesterday, which is Palestine Action fans crying that terrorist sympathy has been banned. I kid you not.
Has lauded those who took part. Enough time potentially to deal with any.
Yeah.
We're just waiting for.
So, Jess, what we're seeing there is activists crying, lamenting the fact that you're no longer able to support terrorism through the actions of Palestinian terrorist activists. That's quite incredible, isn't it? I mean, do these people are they either pure terrorist sympathisers, in which case maybe there's an answer.
So
they should be taken
ignorant and arrogant.
But do you think they just don't know what it is they're advocating? They put a tea towel on their head and then they decide that, well, that's pretty socialist, that's pretty down with the kids, without actually knowing what it is that they're advocating.
I'm sorry, but they don't seem to have any idea of what exactly they're following. They don't even seem to understand the implication. I think it was, last year they were prescribed as a terrorist organisation and you weren't allowed to protest peacefully for them or anything because they are classed as a terrorist organisation. Of course, those 4 thugs were going to be sent down to jail the other day for a good time, 25 years, I think, altogether.
20 plus, yeah.
It should have been more than that, I think, indeed.
And lots of people on the left coming out defending those activists and forgetting the fact that one of them smashed a police officer in the back with a sledgehammer.
That is disgusting. That woman, her spine was fractured and she spoke and said that she's still affected by it mentally, she's still in pain, and yet you've got so many of their followers on social media, especially, all of these people just calling you, just hating Palestine, hating on a genocide. They just seem to bring that into everything, when actually, hold on a minute, this is an organisation that is a terrorist organisation. These 4 criminals are thugs and...
Violent thugs.
Violent thugs. They have fractured a policewoman's spine. She was unable to work and do her duty as one of our, most revered professions.
Yeah. Frank, what's your response to the tears of the left there?
Well, I think it's very interesting because it's almost as if they become this kind of quasi-religious movement that assumes that God or some other higher power has anointed them with these moral truths. And therefore, if something happens that they don't like or contradicts their interest or their objectives, they are entitled to react not just physically, but with emotion. And I don't know if you ever mix with these people, but their level of emotionalism, the way they use emotional blackmail to promote their ideals, the way they use their emotion to justify horrific massacres. A lot of these people in the aftermath of October 7th said that what happened there was really, really, really good. It was the context allowed them to exercise this violence. And therefore, in their eyes, what occurred there in October the 7th wasn't rape. It wasn't just the murder of people. It was simply a legitimate response by people on their side. And for some reason, they're allowed to do these things because somehow God or some other higher power has given them permission to do that. And this kind of self-regarding, sort of contempt for other people, which underlies their belief that somehow they're entitled to do these things, has got no boundaries.
And Frank, do we think that it's almost a weaponisation of victimhood? Is that what we're seeing here, as usual?
Yes, and the adverse side of the weaponization of victimhood is that they're allowed to victimize others. And that's the paradox, because the people that go to Golders Green in London and yell and shout at Jews, or sometimes burn things down, or make protests in front of synagogue, victimizing the people that are there, then like to kind of present themselves as the real victims. So they're allowed to do these things as a result of that.
Yeah. Who was it that brought the action? Do you know, Frank, in terms of the person or the group or the individuals that sought to actually try to unprescribe Palestine action as a terrorist group? Because surely the focus should be on those individuals of that group that thinks that Palestine action have a legitimate right to exist despite what they stand for.
Well, there's a group of passive supporters. So for every individual that goes and sabotages a plant or hits a policeman, there are literally dozens and dozens of other passive supporters who are really enthusiastically supporting these kinds of actions. And some of them are quite prosperous, they're quite well off. I don't know how you can have these rich middle-class people not realizing the danger that the action of Palestine activists kind of represent. And I think some of them are quite happy to put money into judicial reviews and other legal actions in order to use the courts to further their propaganda.
Do you think these people are funded by kind of dark forces? And I'm not suggesting these individuals are directly responsible for the court action that culminated yesterday. But the likes of George Soros and others are often trumpeted as being the money behind a lot of these kind of Antifa type protests. Do you think there's any mileage in that, Frank, in terms of the funding of these groups and individuals?
I think the real danger is that these activists enjoy the support of relatively prosperous middle-class people here in Britain who regard their cause as entirely just. So they're absolutely convinced that the most important cause in British society today is not illegal immigration. It's not the economic crisis we face with. It's not the fact that we haven't got a robust defense left anymore. They think the most important issue is the issue of Palestine, the cause of Palestine. And for that reason, they're quite prepared to provide these individuals with funds. And I met a couple of them here and there, and they are the kind of people that actually have the money to devote to these kinds of causes. So that's what I'm worried about. It's homegrown British idiots who are so much enamored.
Homegrown British idiots. What a fantastic turn of phrase. But also not just British, but there were rumours, and they are just rumours, that members of the Getty family, of course, in the US, were supporting, for instance, kind of the Stop Oil coalition, Just Stop Oil and so on. I just want to change the subject very, very slightly to I know a subject, Frank, that's close to your heart, which is freedom of speech. Do you think freedom of speech should extend to booing the children of royalty? Can I just show you a clip, just for context? Laser eyes from Princess Charlotte there. Look, the three royal children and the Princess of Wales, I was going to say minding their own business, but actually doing what they're supposed to do, which is, going out and show themselves to the crowd. I think the monarchy is something that we should be very, very proud of, frankly. Frank, first of all, do you think that's okay to boo children in a carriage, members of our royal family? The public standing there booing them. I mean, for no good reason. I don't think Louis, George and Charlotte have done anything wrong, have they, that we're aware of, that people should have an issue with?
Well, I think this is very uncivilized and unacceptable behavior. I mean, no serious adult would ever think of hurting children in that kind of a way and of treating them like that. But nevertheless, I think the principle of free speech is so important that I don't think I could use any legal instruments to prevent these idiots from basically doing these horrible things. And one of the unfortunate consequences of freedom is that a lot of people exercise their freedoms in a very irresponsible way. But just because they are irresponsible is not an argument against allowing people to express themselves in accordance with their inclination. I mean, I would have been much happier if, when this happened, there were enough people in the audience who were lining along the street who would give these booers a hard time. I think that's the way you deal with these people, rather than the use of the law.
Yeah, Jesse, do you agree? I mean, on the basis that we've also been talking today and yesterday and at the end of last week about protecting children from harm by way of banning social media, do we think that free speech has to extend to allowing people that you disagree with to say what they want, and that you should actually, no matter what, defend their right to say things that you don't agree with, including booing children in a carriage?
First of all, I find that clip disgusting. It's awful seeing children put into that situation. I do think there's a bit of a safeguarding issue there, but I do absolutely believe in free speech. What I do think there is an issue with is that citizens of this country, people in this country, are not being taught patriotism. Because I was brought up to love the royal family, and I do love the royal family. It's a part of our culture. But we have so many people who are born here, have lived here for years, but they hate the royal family. And what's going wrong here? It's this woke left-wing teaching. I think it originates from schools. It originates from this left-wing propaganda that's being dished out into schools, and kids are growing up, becoming adults, and they've got this propaganda in their heads, and they then think it's okay, it's totally acceptable to boo children, all of them below the age of, 13? That is disgusting. They're kids. There is a real safeguarding issue here because how is that going to affect them mentally?
Do you think it's a case of some Republicans decided to mobilise and go out and just give the royal... So this is aimed at the royal family rather than the children in the carriage?
Yes, I think it's aimed at the royal family. There's definitely been a sort of Republican surge. I've seen online anyway, maybe not nationally, but online I've definitely seen a Republican surge.
No doubt. I mean, thanks to the antics of Andrew, not Prince Andrew, just Andrew, and Harry and Meghan. I mean, you can see, I suppose, why their royal capital has depleted. I'm going to show you something else before we wrap up, if I may. This is slightly comedic, but kind of sums up two-tier justice in Britain. And this is, Elena, this is clip number 11, I think. Let's just watch this for a second.
They don't even look at it. They don't even look at it. Hold on, what's he doing,
So, Frank, to you on this, freedom of expression, I guess, but making the point that, you come to a line of police that are trying to, I don't know, filter through whatever it is that you're trying to kind of protect people from by way of, stopping people, identifying them, stop and search, CCTV identification of faces for the purposes of criminal identification, blah, blah, blah. Yet when it actually comes to someone infiltrating through that line of defence of police in a burqa, they're allowed just to walk through. And obviously, look, in a slightly amusing way, did it so that they could pull down a Palestinian flag. But the point is, that is the very epitome, Frank, isn't it, of a two-tier approach to policing?
Well, it is. I think if you wear a burqa, that gives you a free pass to do stuff. And one of the things that I've noticed in the last couple of years is that the police in general tend to have a differential attitude towards ordinary people, whether you're an Islamist supporter or whether you're just an ordinary British guy on the street. And I'm not surprised by this. I think it's almost as if wearing a burqa is seen as a kind of sacred, holy kind of act, and you mustn't really challenge them. Something I find quite disturbing. I remember ages ago when I was teaching at the university, and somebody told me that a lady with burqa wanted to join my class. And I made the point that's perfectly all right, but when I'm running a seminar, I don't want anybody wearing anything on their face that hides them from my eyesight, because part of teaching people is to see their reactions, their facial reaction. And if all I see is just a black cloth, then I don't know, what's really happening there. And at the time, I remember my other colleagues were divided. Some supported me, some thought I was a racist. But to this day, I think it's really important for us to take a stand against the burqa in medical situations, in situations like school and everywhere else, because...
Yeah, Frank, I've got to say goodbye because we're getting to the top of the show now, or the end of the show. But some countries, of course, like France, have banned the burqa. Perhaps people watching this think that we should do the same thing here. Big question mark. Let us know what you think in the comments. And Frank Ferretti, thank you very much indeed. And also to Jess Kane, thank you very much indeed. Good freeway there. Good banter, good conversation. Thank you very much indeed. You'll both be invited back for sure. Someone else that's coming back, because he did a show yesterday, and he's about to do another one today from sunny Mallorca, and that is Mark Littlewood.
Mark's not there, so you've got Sam, his sidekick.
Oh, Sam, his sidekick. Where's Mark? Has he got a hangover already, Sam?
He's muted himself.
You muted yourself in your, what's that, a Sunderland top?
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
Okay, let's wrap it up.
Can't hear you. Okay.
All right, let's wrap it up.
All right, well, we're going to wrap up the show a little bit earlier than we'd anticipated, a minute early, because our correspondent in Mallorca, I don't know, maybe that was the glaring laryness of his football shirt there that has somehow interfered with technology. Okay, that's 2 hours done. I'll be back tomorrow. Thank you very much indeed for watching on UK Live, and over, hopefully, fingers crossed, to Sam on behalf of Mark Littlewood for World Cuppa. See you tomorrow.
Good morning, I'm Edward Hughes with your Tuesday Bulletin. Prime Minister Keir Starmer has announced a major crackdown. Social media platforms like TikTok and YouTube will be banned for under 16s by next spring, one of the toughest measures worldwide. Tech firms are pushing back, while ministers lobby international partners. In security news, BBC investigations link Russia to arson attacks on Starmer's properties, with evidence of efforts to stoke UK tensions. Separately, UK forces seized a Russian Shadow Fleet oil tanker in the Channel. Economy. The UK saw a 0.1% contraction in April, partly blamed on the recent Iran conflict fallout. Other notes include ongoing political pressures on defence spending and local incidents like a nursery car crash. Politics, security and child safety dominate the agenda. Remember to like and subscribe. Laters, Tigers.
Hey, Sam.
It was there, I think.
You've muted yourself, mate. Hello, everybody. This is supposed to be Mark's World Cuppa. Guest has muted themselves. So can you unmute yourself, Sam? And there we go. Thank you, everybody. Well, that was a good show. Really enjoyed that. I think we found a new young star in Jess.
Yeah, she's great. I'd love to have her on the time.
Yep. Unmute yourself, Sam. Okay, I'll tell you what, Sam, if you take yourself off and then come back, I'll go to a holding screen. I can just chat. Right, Russ is just finishing his show. He's just walking out. And I'm waiting for the World Cuppa guys to arrive. And I have a Mark. I've got Mark Crossley is in the green room, which is good. I'm waiting for Sam to come back. Right, goodbye. Football shirt is Southampton shirt, says Simon Kilford. Yes, it probably would be, wouldn't it? Right, let's go to Sam now. And let's go to Sam. Guest has muted themselves. Sorry, mate, you've muted yourself again. I don't know how you've done this. You've muted yourself. You have muted yourself. Nope. Sorry, we cannot hear. So, anyone know where Mark Littlewood is? Mark, are you there? Mark Littlewood, are you there? We are looking for Mark. I have Mark Crossley in the green room, I know. And there's Mark Crossley. No, Sam, you've muted yourself. I'm going to have to... he's tried to reconnect, and I'm going back to this scene. And I am talking. Maybe I'm going to have to get in the chair and talk. So who we've got? We've got...
Oh, you've got the phones ringing here.
I've got an audio call. I don't know who that is, but I am leaving that. And
I think it's...
So I've got Charlotte next to me. Hello, Charlotte.
Hi.
And Elena.
Hi.
Hello. And Charlotte, do you want to sit in? Go on. You can come to World Cuppa. Go on, Elena. You two go.
I don't know anything about football.
Hold a mic between you. 1 second. We've got Elena and Charlotte coming in to go and grab the mic. Have you got Russell's mic there?
Yes.
Hold that between you. Hold that between you. There we go. Introducing Charlotte and Elena. Hey, looking great, girls.
There's a lot. I'm leaving in a completely wrong
looking
side.
great. Move across. Move to your right, girls. Move to your right, and then look down.
The right.
And then look down the barrel of your camera. Mark, we are waiting for Mark Crossley. We are waiting for Mark Littlewood to arrive.
I'm
Sam,
probably the worst guest on this. I have absolutely nothing about football.
Oh, right.
Who's your football sides, girls?
I'm an armchair supporter. I used to have a season ticket when I was younger for Burnley.
Burnley?
Yes, Burnley FC. But I don't know who the manager is now. Can't name any players. So I'm not great.
By the way, were you two born in a barn? The door is open.
It's too much.
Yeah, how am I supposed to run a show? No, okay.
Oh, no, don't leave me alone. Jesus.
Elena,
I know nothing about football.
Elena,
half of what you guys talk about mean nothing to me.
Who do you support?
I support friendship.
Give me some Russian sides.
I can't even think of any football name. What is it?
Manchester
Arsenal.
United.
There is Arsenal.
That's Keir Starmer's favourite team, Arsenal. So
Oh, no, sorry.
So we don't
Starmer
like that,
alert.
yes.
We don't
Starmer
know
alert.
that.
Right, is this Pooch? Yes, South London, Sarah. This is Pooch talking. And Keely62, loving the announcer. Gillian Sharp, footy, I'm off. Come on, this isn't footy. This is my executive producer, my senior producer, doing the show. So great running commentary, Pooch, cheesecake. We really enjoyed your quizzes, Charlotte. They were fun, weren't they?
I really enjoyed doing it actually, and the
Yeah.
interaction from everybody was top notch.
Okay, let me do a football quiz for you two on World Cups as we're waiting. Who won the first ever World Cup in 1930?
Argentina.
It's not a bad guess. Right continent. Right continent.
The correct continent.
Correct continent.
Brazil.
No.
Venezuela.
Elena, no. Begins with U.
Uruguay.
Yay. Who has won the most World Cups, Elena? Which team?
Brazil?
Brazil, correct.
You would have said that if I had not said Brazil first.
No, correct. Hold your mic.
Thanks for that.
Hold your mic. How many World Cups has Russia won?
Oh.
We win any? None, I
None.
think.
Russell Quirk is in the studio.
None.
I don't think we won any, did we?
Yeah, no, you haven't won any. No, nothing at the moment. No. What else do we have? Okay. Who is my favourite football team?
Just
Italian.
any football team.
Sorry, international.
Russia. Let's go for Russia.
No, Italy.
Of course it is. It's his
Yeah,
heritage.
Italia.
Sad. Did you not
Forza
know that?
Italia.
Well, I thought he might change his mind. Now he's
No. Well,
now that he's got me on the team.
I support all of the home nations as well. I know that sounds knobby, but yeah. So
Please don't leave me here.
we can hear Russell in the background.
Please, Russell.
Yeah, in
I
you
know
go, Russell.
nothing about football. We're talking about football.
Is this a football show?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm an expert. I know everything about football.
I know
Right, Russell.
way less than you.
Russell, we're going to come to Mark Crossley, the former Southampton goalkeeper.
Okay.
The only man, sorry, not Southampton goalkeeper. Sorry, Mark. I'm bringing you in now. But you're the only man to have saved a Matt Letizia penalty. Is that correct? Let's bring you in, sir. Hold on one second. Hey, Mark.
That is 100% correct.
Yeah. Tell me about what Letiz had. I thought he'd never missed a penalty, but tell me about it.
I'll tell you a story about it. He took 48 penalties and he missed the one. Well, he didn't miss it. I saved it.
Yeah. Left or right?
And I went to my right, his left. And we've become good friends simply through that penalty save. And that was at the old Dell. The ground was called the Dell.
Yeah, I remember that.
And the end where I saved the penalty, it was on the 24th of March, 1992.
Not
and
very memorable then.
Matt texts me on that day every single year.
No.
Calling me all the names under the sun. But that end where I saved the penalty is now called Crossley Place because it's an housing estate now and it's all named after ex-footballers. So they named that end where he missed the penalty Crossley Place.
Wow. Wow, that's some tribute to you, isn't it?
In hindsight, I should have asked for an house if I knew they were building a...
Are you a cricket fan at all? Because do you remember Jim Laker? He took 19 Test wickets. Sorry, I'm thinking of Garfield Sobers when he got hit for 6 sixes. That was off Malcolm Nash, wasn't it? And everybody remembers the name of the bowler as well. So that's some honour. So tell me about your teams. What's your history?
Well, I started at 16 years old, so I spent 12 years at Nottingham Forest, for almost 400 games.
Yep.
And then I moved to Middlesbrough, Fulham, Sheffield Wednesday, Oldham Athletic, Chesterfield.
Wow.
I retired from playing at 41 years old, professionally. And then I went into coaching for 9 years after that, and then retired and went on the after-dinner circuit talking about football after that. So I've been doing that for 7 years.
Wow, and that must be quite enjoyable. I mean, telling the old tales and bits and pieces?
Yeah, well, I worked for one of the most famous managers ever been in Brian Clough. So
Yep.
I worked with him, so it's quite easy to tell the tales because there was that many with him involved.
What's this one? Look, on
Some
screen.
I can say, and some I can't.
Well, here we go on screen here, Mark. It says Demas24 said Cloughie called Mark shithouse. Lol.
That's right. That was one of my nicknames. Yeah.
Really?
Because I was built. Apparently, because I was built like one, a brick one.
How tall are you?
6'4".
Wow, a unit then. Some unit.
We've got Croatia. Can we talk about England, Croatia?
Yes, we got Sam here, by the way, quickly. So Sam is one of the presenters of Mark Littlewood's Cuppa. Hi, Sam.
Hello. Sorry, thank you for stepping in. It's been a bit of a nightmare, all this technical side.
That's all right. It's all the fun of the fair.
Mark, am I right? You were born in Barrow. Did I see that on your Wikipedia page?
Barnsley. And let me tell you one thing: never believe what Wikipedia says because it gets it all wrong.
Barnsley. Sorry. Sorry. Apologies for that. I was just wondering if you had known my stepfather, who was a goalkeeper for Barrow and for Aldershot for a number of years. So I was just wondering if you may have come across him.
What was his name?
Yeah, but probably not if you're from Barnsley.
No.
Well, anyway, thank you very much for joining us.
No problem.
Thank you very much for joining us. I guess while we're waiting for Mark to come along online, last night, what a night for the goalkeepers. Saudi Arabia and Cape Verde, both of their goalkeepers played an absolute blinder, didn't they?
They did. I managed to get to watch a bit of the Cape Verde. I've been on a golfing trip all weekend, so I didn't see that much football, to be honest. But I managed to get home yesterday and pop into my local. It's nice to see that there is some good talent, playing for the minnows, whatever you want to call the countries, and it was really, really interesting to see. And it's great for them because, the whole world's watching. So some of these lesser so-called players will be being targeted by, Premier League clubs and that. So, yeah, it's great that they're doing so well. But the goalkeepers have been fantastic so far.
Yeah,
Sam,
they
we've
have.
got a clip.
Now,
Should we have a quick?
I don't know whether to trust it since I again read it on your Wikipedia page.
Yeah,
Sorry, what was that?
There's a lot of it. There's a lot of it correct, but there's a lot of it incorrect as well.
Shall we just have a quick look at the Cape Verde fans? I mean, it is a wonderful, wonderful thing to see, as Mark said, when you get a team doing well. I mean, Mark, you must remember when you were playing. I mean, it's all about the fans, isn't it? I mean, I know you guys are out there, but you do it for the fans, don't you? And to see the fans celebrating so much. Have a look at this.
It's an amazing story. It really is. And like you say, I'm looking at, and that stadium, by the way, oh my word, what a stadium that was last night. And I say the fans, I know there's been a lot of controversy about the price of tickets, but that would have been worth every single penny for their fans last night.
Absolutely. You played quite late into your. You played, I think, until you were in your 40s as well, didn't you? So you would obviously know a bit of what the Cape Verde goalkeeper was going through last night, although perhaps on a slightly different stage.
Listen, the World Cup's the biggest stage in the world, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, my main time was all through the 90s playing in the Premier League, which was an amazing experience, and then. Because I loved football so much, and I'm quite a laid back, humble type of guy. So I feel blessed that I was given that career. Obviously, I worked hard when I was during the career, but I did feel blessed that I actually became a professional footballer, and I wanted to embrace every single year of it, every game. So I wanted to play as long as possible, and I did. Maybe the last 2 or 3 years I should have considered maybe not carrying on because I got a little bit heavier and I got a little bit slower and I dropped down the leagues a little bit. But I would never change the career playing in goal. It's a lonely place at times, you know.
Mm. So, I mean, so both the Saudi and Cape Verde goalkeepers were obviously the last lines of defence. Are there any games that were you the last line of defence when everything else was falling apart around you?
Well, I played for Wales. I played for Wales through ancestry. My granddad was Welsh, so I went on to play for Wales, and I'm really gutted that they never got to the World Cup this time because they missed out on a penalty shootout. So I'm gutted that I'm not watching Wales play. And I was born in England, but because of ancestry, I went on to play for Wales, and I managed to play against Argentina, Germany, Brazil, Scotland. So I know what it's like to play at the elite level. And it's difficult for a goalkeeper because playing for a minnows team like Wales were to a certain extent against the bigger teams. Like I said, a goalkeeper sometimes can become a very, very lonely place. But when you've got great supporters around you and great people, that helps. So yeah, I mean, I loved playing for Wales. I loved every minute of it, and I always gave my all and played in some fantastic games. Only 8 times, but having played in the Premier League and international football, it was like a dream come true. Being a young lad, you know, coming up at 16 years old and signing for Nottingham Forest, and then the career just went on and on and on and on. So I wouldn't change it for anything.
Oh, that's amazing. I guess one more question, and I suppose it goes a bit to what you were saying about the playing for Wales and playing against Germany, and then the next week maybe being at a lower level. The New Zealand, one of the New Zealand players, Tommy Smith, plays for Braintree Town in the National Conference South, and so he's going to go from playing at the World Cup this summer to playing possibly at Slough Town's 2,000-person stadium. It must be a pretty crazy experience to go from one to the other.
Well, he's an experienced player, Tommy, isn't he? He has been around a little bit. So what an amazing way to finish a career off, playing in a World Cup and then going back and playing probably in front of maybe 500 supporters. So yeah, it's what dreams are made of, isn't it? It's what dreams are made of, and good luck to New Zealand. Obviously, they're not going to go very far in the tournament, but that's quite obvious. But just the initial experience will just be amazing for them all. It's great. It's brilliant, isn't it? Because you're watching the games on TV, and you're like, well, I've never heard of these. I've never heard of these players. You know, they must have some talent to be playing in the World Cup. And so far, I think it's been amazing. It's been really
quickly,
amazing.
If I could jump in,
there's a couple of
talk about. Oh, guest has muted themselves, and look, Mark has disappeared suddenly. Sam, I was just going to ask Mark whilst we try and get him back. Kind of we'd all love to be a professional footballer, wouldn't we? I mean, it's what dreams are made of. He was just talking about. I'd like to ask, at what point did he realise that he was going to be a professional footballer? You know, when he's a young lad. Whoops, sorry, I need to change this to you. Oh,
sorry, am I back?
You're back. Yes. Oh, Mark is back. Hold on. 1 second. Hold on. There we go. Mark.
Sorry, it's my birthday. It's my birthday today. My phone is going absolutely berserk. So sorry about that.
Happy birthday! And I've
Happy
just
birthday.
my daughter's working here with me, and I've just reminded her to tell me to get some flowers on the way home because it's my wedding anniversary. So yeah,
happy wedding anniversary.
Thank you. Yeah, Mark. I was just saying to Sam, at what point did you realise that you were different from the other kids in the sense that you had talent, and did you say to yourself, do you know what, I think I might have a shot at being a footballer? What age was that?
It's a good question. So if you go back in the day, so my father started a junior football club when I was 10 years old, and we played at a very, very good standard. So there weren't any academies around then. what we used to do at a professional football club is people would come to watch you. You would get scouts watching, and then you would go for what they call a trial, basically. And if you got through the trials, then you had every chance of progressing. So when I got to 16 years old, I was playing for a local team in the Sheffield and district area, and we were quite successful. So obviously that's going to drag in all the scouts to watch. And then I went for trials at Watford, but I got homesick. I didn't really want to stay down there. But Nottingham was only like 45 minutes from home. So once I got the chance to go to Nottingham Forest, but you still didn't realise then that how far you could actually go. Because I signed a YTS, a youth training scheme. Remember that? Not an apprenticeship. We used to be called a YTS.
Yeah, of course, YTS.
And then played youth team football for Nottingham Forest. And then at 19 years old, I'd obviously shown a little bit of talent and hard work and desire. And Brian Clough decided to pick me to play in his first team at 19 years old. So that's when I actually really realised that this was a possibility.
But you must have realised a bit before when you were at school and other kids were, trying their hardest. And did everyone look at you as the best footballer in the year?
Well, there was a few of us actually that went on to play. There's some semi-professionals. We had I think what it boils down to is we had a really, really good sports school: football, cricket, basketball, and we played everything. We went to night classes to play football. We played football for the school at weekends, and I think that's kind of drifted away a little bit. But we played football all the time, and I knew that I was good, but I didn't realise that I was good enough to be a professional. I really didn't until I started training with professionals, and then you think, well, maybe this is not out of reach, and then you start to progress through certain systems to get there. And I think a lot of it then is down to yourself. And once the talent's there, it's how hard you're prepared to work and what sacrifices you're prepared to give up.
Interesting. Chaps, we have some arrivals. The host, Mark Littlewood, is here, and we have Ted with us as well. So let me just do a bit of tech wizardry here, see if this works. It won't. Oh my, there we go.
There you go.
Wow. Okay.
Mark, great to see you. Sorry to miss you. We had a power cut here in Calador at 5 to noon. So I've been running around, sticking things together. Here we are. I know you've been in Sam's capable hands. He must have asked you about Vizino's performance last night. I mean, absolutely unbelievable, wasn't it?
Outstanding. I say I've been on a golfing trip all weekend, but I managed to get back and get in my local, and I was watching that game, and I have to say I was quite blown away, to be honest. When you don't expect something and it actually happens, then I was just saying before, it's so good to see the minnows, so-called minnows, doing well so far at the World Cup. I watched the Japan game, and I managed to watch that. I was really impressed, and the Cape Verde performance last night, wow, unbelievable.
So I've got to ask you, if Sam hasn't already, Mark, for Nottingham Forest or your other clubs, have you had a game like that where you were the brick wall, you were, everything coming at you, you're reliant on the centre backs in front of you, and you managed to somehow keep them out? I don't know, nick a lucky nil win or hold a clean sheet. What game have you played anything like that? Because it must be mentally exhausting.
It is exhausting, but you, as a goalkeeper, when you're in goal and things start to happen, and it's one of those days where everything's hitting you and you always tend to be in the right place at the right time, it's really strange because you do actually get them games, as well as getting games where things are not going to, well, and you're wondering how you're going to actually make things better. But I had a game I played for Fulham at Newcastle one year, and I was one of the first goalkeepers. In the Sun newspaper, they used to do a column, and they used to give players marks out of 10. And I was one of the first goalkeepers to get a 10 out of 10 at playing for Fulham away at Newcastle. We won the game 4-1 with 4 breakaway goals. You seen last night, Cape Verde could have actually won it in the end with the breakaways. We scored 4 goals at Newcastle. We were massive underdogs. We won the game 4-1 with 4 breakaways, but they had 29 shots on target, and I made 28 saves. So,
that's
a lot.
That's even better. I mean, that's even better than Vizino, isn't it? I mean, what the other one was cleared off the line by a defender, presumably.
No, it was a goal. They scored. Craig Bellamy scored.
They got one. They got one. Yeah, but your 4 breakaway
one.
goals were enough. 28 saves. I mean, I think Vizino managed 7 or something. But then I was thinking of the flip side, Mark. Have you ever been like the Spanish goalkeeper, where you're just standing in your own box, looking at the pitch, and all the action is 85 yards away? How the hell do you keep focused and warm and agile when that's happening?
I have actually played in, like in a cup competition. Say you get drawn in a cup competition as a Premier League club against like a lower team, So I have plenty of games like that. But that was when, as a goalkeeper, it's when you rely on your concentration levels, because at any time, and I think Verdi could have actually scored a free header in the last minute. I know it went straight at the goalkeeper, but you've got to be so concentrating. We do like what you call walking the game. So wherever the ball is in the pitch, you walk into the correct areas as a goalkeeper. It's a lot more technical than just stopping the ball from going in the goal. So we used to call it like walking the game. So it helps you concentrate for the full 90, 100 minutes, wherever it may be.
Yeah, and you're thinking of all your positioning if there's a counter attack or anything. Pooch, have we shown clip 6 yet? I don't know if you've got it. Let's see, because I don't know if you've been warned, Mark.
I just loaded it up. We need to see this. I haven't seen this for years.
Yeah, this is. I'm a Southampton fan, Mark. So you've been burned onto my football experience forever and a day because of a clip that I think you've even said it was the highlight of your career, right? Because you will be the only man in history who has ever saved a penalty from Matthew Letizia, right? I think he scored 47
penalties.
And he scored 47 of them.
He was on 20 at the time. He'd scored 20 out of 20 at the time.
And it was at the Dell, wasn't it? It was at Southampton, I think, wasn't it? Or was it at the City Ground?
It was at the Dell, which is now an housing estate, and that end is now called Crossley Place.
Right. Is that really true? Is that really true? Or have you made that up, Mark?
Yeah, Matt took a picture of that and sent it me. We're good friends. We're really good friends.
Amazing.
I'll not tell you what the rest of the text message said, though. I don't think we'll get away with it.
Let's have a look.
Have we got the clip, Pooch? Okay, that's great. But yeah,
he has a joke. He has a joke with me. He said to me, "I was on 99 goals for Southampton at the time, and I didn't want the 100th one to be a penalty." He's such a liar.
So yeah, and was it a poor penalty or a good save?
It was a good save, obviously. He was the best penalty taker that's ever been.
Yeah. That sounds.
It was probably what you would call a comfortable height for a goalkeeper, and I actually say
to have saved a Matt Letizia penalty.
Right in the top corner.
Yeah, I've seen that goal on Matt Letizier's sort of greatest all-time goals. He puts it right over you. Yeah. But it's the penalty save you're always going to remember, isn't it, Mark?
That's it. I mean, we've become really good friends, and simply because of that, and we play a bit of golf together. And he always says to me, "Well, I took 5 penalties at you, and I scored 4, so I'm 4-1 up." And I said, "Mate, listen, nobody's interested in that. Nobody's interested. They're only interested in the one that you miss, mate."
Yeah. Well, Mark, look, it's great to have you with us. We're going to be joined by Ted Granger, I think, after the news. But I've got a task for you, Mark, which is I'm trying to beat my guests on a prediction competition each day. So I'm asking guests who come on to predict a result. France, Senegal is the first game this evening. I have predicted 3 to France. So you can predict anything other than 3 to France. And we're keeping a running total of whether my guests beat me. It's Mark versus the rest of the world. What's your tip, Mark, for France versus Senegal?
Well, they've got such good attacking power, haven't they? And I think the question marks with France is how good they are defensively. But I'm going to go. I just think they've got so much firepower. I'm going to go for 4-0.
4-0 to France. Blimey. There you go.
Mbappe,
Against the team
hat-trick.
who were nearly African champions.
Yeah.
Mark, great to have you with us. Thank you so much. Brilliant to get a goalkeeper's perspective on after such a fantastic day for a goalkeeper. And the Saudi goalkeeper was pretty damn good as well. So it was definitely goalkeeper's day on day 5. It'd be great to get you on later in the tournament, Mark, because when we get to the penalty stage, goalkeeper's going to be really important. So look forward to having you back. And sorry about the power cut here in Calidore. I'm glad you were in Sam's capable hands. But we seem to be back up and running now. So, Mark, great to have you with us. 4-0 to France, he says, and the only man ever to save a Matt Le Tissier penalty. Enjoy the golf and enjoy the rest of the World Cup, Mark. Many thanks.
See you guys. Nice one. Take care.
I think we probably, I know we're going to be a bit running over schedule, but we should probably, before we go to Westminster Policy Advisor and Leicester City fan, Ted Granger, who you would have seen in the bottom of your screen there, we should probably have some news, shouldn't we? Have we had Edward Hughes with the news yet? Pooch, it's probably we should bring him on, don't we? It's hour, and then we're going to talk about Argentina. First time in my life I've ever worn an Argentina shirt, but the world champions get their campaign off later today. So, Pooch, do we want some news,
with Edward Hughes? Oh, file not found. How ridiculous. Well, Mark...
You have finally fired Edward Hughes.
Well, no, not even fired Edward Hughes. I might fire the whole team because at the beginning, Sam had muted himself. So I'm this anonymous voice doing an interview with Mark Crossley, which was quite surreal. So, I just need to mess a few things around. So can you just read through the scores on the ticker and tell just relay what was happening last night, and then I'll bring Ted into you.
Go. Yeah, let's go through what happened last night. Probably the best night of the World Cup, even though, oddly enough, all 4 games were draws. We've had, you touched on Spain versus Cape Verde, a 0-0 draw, but to all intents and purposes, that counts as a Cape Verde win. As you've gathered, total man of the match was Vecino, the 40-year-old Cape Verde goalkeeper. And I think my favourite stat about the match is his number of followers on Instagram has gone from 50,000 to 6.7 million since that performance last night. Belgium played Egypt, 1-1 draw. Bit of a decent result that for Egypt. Belgium were the favourites there. When they put on Lukaku, they managed to sort of hustle in an own goal to equalise through Lukaku's presence. Saudi versus Uruguay, again, as Mark Crossley was saying, the kind of minnows have been causing some upsets. Didn't win, but a very creditable 1-1 draw, late equaliser by Uruguay. Not really a fancy team, Uruguay, but one of the dark horses. And then we had Iran versus New Zealand. I'm going to talk to Sam about that and New Zealand, I think, in the last stretch of the show. That was a 2-2 draw and a belter of a game. And there's some really interesting stats about New Zealand. They're the worst ranked team in this tournament, but actually their record in this World Cup started with a draw, and the previous World Cup, not too bad at all.
And Mark, New Zealand, they're the All Whites, aren't they?
They are the All Whites as opposed to the All Blacks.
And the basketball team, they've all got
Sam,
names,
help us with the basketball team.
And then also the badminton team is a very strange one. Sam will come on.
So you're going to tell us what they are, or are you going to leave me guessing?
Oh, they're Black Cox.
So I'm not 100% sure on the basketball team. I think they're the Tall Blacks.
1 second.
Is that right,
They are the Tall Blacks. Let me just get Sam in quickly. 1 second. Sam, and, just finish that. There you go.
Team. No, the basketball team are the Tall Blacks, and the badminton team are the Black Cops, or at least that was the name when I last left New Zealand. So I don't know if they've politically correctly changed it by now, but I thought Black Cops was a fantastic name for them.
Yeah. Have we found Edward Hughes then? No, Edward Hughes has disappeared, has he, Pooch?
No, Edward Hughes. We're running late, so I wouldn't worry about it. And
okay, all right.
Preview mode. Would you like to speak to Ted? Should we grab
I
Ted?
would like to speak to Ted. Welcome to Westminster Insider, Ted Granger, Leicester City fan, one of very few teams who had an even worse season, as it turned out, than Southampton. How the very devil are you, Ted?
I'm very well, Mark. Thank you. Other than still suffering as a Leicester City fan, especially in the last 24 hours, which I'm sure you'll know all about.
You've got our old manager, Russell Martin, who's going to Leicester City.
We have indeed. Yeah. He did such a good job at Rangers after he left Southampton that the great powers that be at Leicester have hired him to be our new manager.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's hard times for you guys with Leicester City, but you've still got that Premier League win that you can dream
Absolutely.
of for all of the rest of your life. Look, I want to talk a bit about Argentina. The team the world champions, obviously. Perhaps a bit of an ageing team at the moment. Obviously, Messi, fantastic player, but his best days are obviously behind him. Some of the other players getting on a bit. They have got a few who are coming through. So I think they're fancied at about the same sort of level as England. They're not as good as France and Spain, but they're in the kind of next bracket. You're a betting man like me, Ted. Have you got any money on the RGs or indeed anybody else?
No, I haven't actually. Not. I don't think I've put any bets on. I think. I have. I did put one bet on the other day, which I lost rather quickly on the Germany game. After Germany scored first against Curacao, I put a bet on it finishing 5-0, and about 2 minutes after that, Curaçao's goal came.
Right. And are you managing to watch any of this stuff? Because it all sort of kicks off late at night. Are you like me, going without sleep, basically, or are you just catching up on the highlights?
No, some of us aren't away on holiday, Mark. So some of us have got to stick to normal sleeping patterns. I am falling asleep to games and going to bed and sort of drifting off. Last night's the Ivory Coast game, I was sort of vaguely aware of what's going on whilst trying to fall asleep.
Yeah, this is what we mean by
every other game which kicks off.
Now,
every other game.
Argentina are football mad. Which I'm hoping, even if Edward Hughes has left the stadium, that we've still got clips available to find sleep safe. I wonder if you've got clip 4 just to show how passionate she's are about football. Quite a thing to watch. These are the scenes on the streets of Buenos Aires when Argentina won the World Cup 4 years ago. And I am absolutely told this is not AI generated. So it's quite an amazing thing. We got clip 4? That a bit like the streets of Leicester when you won the Premier League 10 years ago, right?
Absolutely. Or when India played Pakistan in the last T20 World Cup.
Yeah, pretty crazy stuff. Now, a couple of Argentina players to watch in their game against Algeria. You'll know the core players: Messi, Alvarez, Martinez, the goalkeeper. I've dug up a couple to watch. Thiago Almada of Atletico Madrid, 25-year-old, likely to be huge Argentina star in the future in the number 16 shirt. Old school kind of number 10, smaller guy, very, very agile, probably going to be in the starting 11 for them. And then if you want another one to keep a beady eye on, might be his breakthrough World Cup. Well, that's Nico Paz, presently at Como, but likely to return to Real Madrid. Left-footed playmaker. I'm told he's got incredible vision. I'm going to be keeping my eyes on him. So there's still good Argentina players coming through. But look, Ted, I also want to talk to you, as you're a kind of Westminster insider and policy wonk, about what's going on in Argentina at the moment, because there's quite a lot of common sense politics going on there, right? We've had the election of Javier Milei, who's been in since 2024. He has moved the country in a free market direction. And as viewers of this show will know, I am typically supporting teams other than England and Scotland who perform well or are doing better and better in the Heritage Foundation Freedom Index. That's the think tank, the Heritage Foundation, and they go through and they work out how low's tax, how easy is it to conduct business, what's kind of freedom of speech, I think, and other things like, and they rank every country in the world from first to last. Now, Argentina is still some way down the Freedom Index, but they have moved from scoring below 50 out of 100 before Javier Milei came in to well more than 50 out of 100 and are zooming up the indexes. One of the, if you like, freedom's growing faster there than than in pretty much any country in the world. Still a way to go, but great trajectory in terms of freedom, great trajectory. Brilliantly, don't know if you knew this about Javier Milei, he studied at the University of Belgrano, which those of us who can think back to the Falklands War will remember. Inflation has fallen under him from 211% per year, prices trebling every year, down to 32%. Still a way to go, but that's pretty cool. He's achieved the first budget surplus in over a decade. Britain, in contrast, has been running budget deficits year after year after year for 25 years now. And GDP growth, the thing where everybody's yearning for in Britain, in Argentina, the economy's growing at about 4.5% per year. And just in case you think that this must all be benefiting the rich, urban poverty has fallen to its lowest since 2018. So urban poverty on the way down, all of the things you want to see on the way up. He's also taken a chainsaw. I don't know if we've actually got a clip of him wielding a chainsaw. I think we have. It's clip 5, Pooch. Well worth seeing. To the bureaucratic state. If we can find clip 5, you will see Javier Milei on the campaign trail. Ted, what do you make of the Milei? Here we go. Pooch might have the clip, I think. No chainsaw, Pooch. All right, Ted, what do you think of the Milei? Well, I don't know if it's an experiment now. It's a kind of policy program, right?
It is a full-blown policy program. I think, it's...
Milei saca motosierra durante caravana en Argentina.
So yeah, obviously it was symbolising that he was going to take a chainsaw to government, and he has. He's closed down half the government departments or something like that. What do you make of what the hell is going on there, Ted?
I mean, it really is fascinating. I think that the biggest thing is that he really is delivering on a scale which most people didn't think would be possible. He came in with this vigor, with his chainsaw, saying, he was going to shut down half the government and run a budget surplus very, very quickly. And from the sort of Western world dogma about how long it takes to establish any kind of change, you look at the UK, for example, where nothing really seems to change, no matter who you put in government. This is change on such a drastic level. He really has been able to deliver, as you say, shutting down half the economy, getting inflation not under control as such, but to a much more manageable level than 200% in a very short space of time. And he was rewarded for that with the last midterm elections, where his party did very, very well indeed. When he came into office, it was a lot of concern about how much of his agenda he'd be able to get through as the president, with essentially no support in his parliament. And that's really impressive. The other thing to note is we're not getting the same level of coverage about what's going on in Argentina here. As a result of Argentina obviously not being an Anglophone country, we're relying on our own media to report on what's going on. And I'm reliably informed that the story that we're being told is very, very different than what's being told in Argentina. I know Steve Baker for Fighting for a Free Future are doing a lot of work trying to translate a lot of the local news in Argentina into English so that we here can actually see what's being said about them. And it's a whole lot more positive than what's being said by the likes of the BBC.
That's interesting. So do you think we'll get some kind of Milei revolution in the UK at some point? It's worth saying Argentina, we lament, I guess, many of us, the state of our country, but Argentina had really fallen to a desperate level, a point of kind of no return. But when do you think we might get a chainsaw wielding government in the UK? You know, cutting red tape, getting rid of government departments, having the courage of its convictions and admitting that kind of big surgery is kind of required, not just cosmetic surgery. Kind of probably need a dose of that in the United Kingdom, wouldn't you say, Ted?
Absolutely. I mean, it depends. I think we're unlikely to see it on the level that Argentina's got until any party that gets into government is prepared to really deal with the bureaucracy that exists in the state, which Milei himself had to deal with. But of course, as you say, the essential reason why Milei has come to power in Argentina is because the Argentinian people have decided to roll the dice. Things have got really, really bad. Inflation over 200%, and it was essentially someone who was prepared to offer whole scale change. And that's what would happen. Fortunately, the thing for Britain that Britain's got to be proud of, at least, is that we're not at the stage that Argentina's at, even when things feel bad. So hopefully we'll start to learn some of the lessons of Milei and what he's been able to deliver without having to descend to the depths of the economy that Argentina had, which predated his arrival. Hopefully we can start to enact those changes to the state and you know, not just tweaking things, but breaking up the whole system before it is absolutely necessary, as it was in Argentina. Because otherwise we will end up there.
Yeah. Right, well, Ted, before I let you go, and let's hope we might need a scalpel rather than a chainsaw, or not a chainsaw on Millei's side to save Britain. The games tonight, another good set of games, but we got Iraq versus Norway. I'm going to need your prediction for. That's, you know, who we got in the Norway team. What's his name? Odegaard, the Arsenal captain, and obviously Haaland up front. I mean, I don't know if they're really dark horses, Norway. I think they're 25-1 to win the tournament, so they're not completely out of it. Against little fancied Iraq. I've gone for 3-0 to Norway, so you can't snag that one. What's your prediction for Iraq-Norway, Ted?
This is hard. I was thinking about it this morning, what my prediction was going to be. And of course, we've seen already some, not quite giant killings, but some of those smaller teams pulling out some results. But at the same time, there's no way in my mind I can see Haaland not scoring a hat-trick against Iraq. I really cannot imagine a world in which that happens. So that's going to be my prediction. 3-0 Norway, 3 goals from Erling Haaland.
That's the one score you can't have. I've got...
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean 3-0, 2-0. 2 goals from Erling Haaland.
2 goals. So he'll fall short of a hat-trick, you think?
Yeah.
Ted, great to see you. Good luck building the Milei revolution in Westminster. We'll have you on the programme again soon. Really good to hear from you. Up the RGs, up the Milei revolution. I want to bring Sam back in because I'm going to need him to help me look forward to tonight's matches. Sam, first of all, I should get your predictions. So France versus Senegal, I've gone 3-0 France. Mark Crossley went 4-0 France. Iraq, Norway, I've gone 3-0 to Norway. Ted there has gone 2-0 to Norway. Argentina versus Algeria. What's your prediction? And then perhaps we can, say something that we should be looking out for in that game this evening.
Oh, that's a tough one because we've got, it's one of those games where you could imagine that Argentina could run away with it, but also that, maybe not as much. Some of the big teams have not fired quite as much as you might have expected at the beginning of the tournament. I unfortunately had my prediction on my phone, which I sent, but I believe it was 5-0. Is that right?
You, according to my notes, predicted 4-1 to Argentina.
4-1. Thank you.
4-1 to Argentina. Are you sticking with that prediction? You sticking with that prediction because we're going to be updating it.
I am sticking with that prediction. Yes.
4-1 to Argentina. And player to look out for, if you don't really know the Algerian team, Riyad Mahrez, I think, is still worth keeping out for. Keeping a look out for. Of course, he was part of the Leicester City Premier League winning team. Argentina, take your pick. I've given you a couple of new players who might break through. I don't know how much they're going to use Lionel Messi. Is he going to be so talismanic that he starts, or are they just going to be a bit sparing with him? But that's Argentina versus Algeria. That's 2 a.m. UK time. So, that's one for the night owls. Going towards 5 a.m. UK time, one for the purists here. Austria versus Jordan. Will you be staying up for Austria versus Jordan? I don't think you should miss it, really. We've got Marcel Sabitzer is probably one of the players to look out for Austria in midfield. And Musa Altamari for Jordan, dubbed the Jordanian Messi. I mean, everybody has their own Messi, right? The Jordanian Messi, the Cape Verdean Messi, the God knows what. But what's your take on that match, Sam? I've gone for 3-0 to Austria.
See, I decided to buck the trend a little bit there. I've gone so Jordan. I hadn't realised this until I started looking into it, but they've actually gotten to the finals of the two big tournaments they've competed in recently. El Tamari, I think, scored and assisted their semi-final win over South Korea in the Asian Cup, which they got to the final of and were beaten by Qatar. So I actually think the Jordanians are underpriced here. I'm going to go 2-1 to Jordan.
2-1 to Jordan. Bold underdog minnow prediction, but the minnows have been doing well. Now, as you know, I've got to place a bet every day. I've pledged to put down 20 quid of my own money every day on a bet, which has to be something which is odds against, right? So I can't bet on a total surefire banker like, well, what would it be? Spain beating Cape Verde Islands, most people would have thought was as a banker. Pooch, you might want to pull up image 3. That's my bet going into tonight's game, tonight's matches, which I've touched on. It's only 20 quid a day that I'm betting. Do you know somebody put on Polymarket $1 million on Spain beating the Cape Verde Islands, which would have got them a rate of return of, I think, $89,000 in profit, but obviously they've lost the whole goddamn lot. Somebody else, I think I saw on Polymarket, put $100,000 down that Spain, no, I think it was 40,000 that Spain would not win. And that yielded a very, very tidy profit. I'm not backing anything like at those stakes. And I think we're legally got to say, well, we're not regulated by Ofcom, but if we were, we'd have to say gamble aware, right? Something like that. But if Pooch has got my prediction...
I haven't. Sorry, Mark. The image won't download. I don't know why. Some of the images won't download, but yeah, I saw that.
Okay, well, my prediction is Haaland to score more than 2 goals this evening at 2.5. 2.5 is the rate of return. I lost my 20 quid on predicting that Spain would beat Cape Verde. So I predicted 4-0 to Spain. I was about half right. But because I got the 0 for Cape Verde, but I got the Spanish score wrong. So that's my tip for today. Haaland to score more than 2 goals against the Iraqis. More than double my money. What do you think, Sam? Good bet? Or will they go slow?
I think they're going to struggle more than people appreciate. I think with the exception of Germany, who even they were struggling for the first 20, 30 minutes, every European team that's gone to this World Cup seems to have had a real trouble getting going against non-European opposition. So, I mean, I think it's a good bet based on those odds, but I'm not sure you're going to get it.
Right. Okay. I mean, but I've got to bet odds against, which is a pretty tricky thing to do, right? So I'm not taking any bankers whatsoever. Yeah. So
Mark, we've got a pedant of the day.
Yeah.
It turned out that when the ticker came through, we had a BBC intern, and you sent me the countries. But if you have a look at the ticker, the BBC intern seems to have translated them, as you were talking about yesterday. With no, have a look. So
we have been infiltrated.
Eccles, Manchester. Says, please put the correct country names on the ticker. Well, I had it out with the BBC person, and they said they are the correct country names. What do you think?
This is outrageous, Pooch. You have allowed UK Live to get infiltrated by a BBC intern. Heads must roll.
Well, have a look at
this. Is how the countries describe themselves in their own lingo, right? What is that? Saudi Arabia, Al Mamlaka, yes. Al Arabia, Al Sudar. I mean, what? How'd you get that on the front of a shirt? All right, Uruguay, Belgique, Egypt, Iran, and then your beloved New Zealand. How's that pronounced, Sam?
Aotearoa. If you
what's that mean when it's time?
It's an acquired taste.
It means
it
means
the land of the long white cloud.
The land of the long white cloud. Well, we could at least put that up in English. People would have understood what the hell we were going on about. But then look, the preview matches, it's obvious we've sacked this BBC intern because they are coming through in English.
I did those.
Can we be guaranteed they'll stay that way for
They will.
the results?
I did them. They're sacked. Sam, very quickly, how did you tell me about watching the New Zealand game? Did you enjoy it? Where did you watch it? What were you doing? What time was it?
I will be honest with you. I watched it through the inside of my eyelids in bed, and caught up on the highlights this morning. But it was a fantastic game. I mean, it probably wasn't quite up there with the draw against Italy in 2010, but it was a pretty cracking result.
And we've touched on, haven't we, Sam? Like you've been whinging all World Cup that New Zealand are the lowest ranked team in the World Cup.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit unfair because I don't really trust the FIFA rankings. But in that warm-up friendly against England, they by no means disgraced themselves. I mean, England won 1-0. If you shared your stat about how brilliant New Zealand are, their World Cup pedigree, especially having got another draw last night, what is the dazzling statistic about the Kiwis?
Well, New Zealand is the only team to have not lost a World Cup game since the turn of the millennium. So, how long may that continue? Having said that,
Well, that's only if they've been in more than one tournament, right? Because Cape Verde can also,
That's true, yes, of having been in one tournament. I mean, having said that about New Zealand's performance against England, New Zealand did lose 8 out of 10 friendlies between qualification for the World Cup and the World Cup itself. So it's not been a fantastic run. It has to be said. But I'll tell you what, if they play like the highlights showed them they did last night, then I actually think they've got a not zero chance of getting more points this World Cup, which would be fantastic.
Yeah. So the last World Cup, they went out having not lost, right? And I think they got a draw with Italy. Mind you, Pooch won't like me saying this, but Italy are just terrible these days. 3 draws last time. And that might be enough to get you through this time because the difference in the tournament is lots of third-place teams. 8 out of the 12 third-place teams are going to qualify. So although we're going to eliminate whatever it is, 6, only 1 in 3 of the teams are going to get eliminated. This is more about jostling for position, right? About who plays who next and trying to avoid the big teams and all that sort of stuff. But I'm guessing the Kiwis would take any kind of qualification, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that would be an incredible result. And I think looking at the statistics from last night and the highlights, I think the New Zealanders will be a bit disappointed not to have taken away 3 points last night, because I suspect in this group it'll probably come down to goal difference now as to who the third place team is and whether or not they get through to the next round. Whereas a result against Iran last night could have actually put New Zealand in the driving seat to be a definite third place qualifier.
Now, who's this guy who at the moment, look, I've got to tell you, Kiwis, it's not going to end this way, but at the moment is equal joint top scorer in the World Cup. Got both of the Kiwi goals. Elijah Just, is that his name? Just?
Apparently just, according to...
Okay.
I looked it up. And
unlike the BBC intern, it's actually pronounced the way an Englishman would pronounce it, right?
Well, I'm sure he's English by heritage, so it makes sense. As most New Zealanders are, to be fair. He's a Motherwell player, so one maybe to mention to one of the many Scots we're going to have on over the next week or two, discussing Scotland's results, because especially if he keeps scoring at the rate he is.
Yeah, and Motherwell had a really good season, actually, for those who follow football north of the border. Pretty damn good team at the moment, Motherwell. But who else in the New Zealand team? Because football watchers will know Chris Wood, I think, quite well. The Nottingham Forest centre forward, good kind of traditional old number 9, but great striker. Glad he's in at the World Cup. But then I think we got 1 or 2 more obscure players who perhaps fanatical watchers of non-league football in England might have heard of them. But who's the chap I'm thinking of, Sam? Isn't he from the lowest English league ever?
Yeah, Tommy Smith plays for Braintree Town. I was talking about him to Mark earlier on. And he's in National Conference South, which, according to my research, is the lowest English league to ever send a player to the World Cup, and the second lowest ranked league anywhere in the world, only beaten by, I think, the French 7th tier sent a player to one of their ex-colonial teams like Senegal or someone like that, but I can't quite remember who it was.
Braintree Town fans will be glued to the All Whites for the next couple of games. Sam, who have we got coming up on the show tomorrow? It's great to have Kiwi Collins on, filling in for the Glindex, who will be joining us again tomorrow with a whole range of stats and things that we got to know. Which other guests have we got on the show tomorrow, Sam?
Well, we've got Chris Snowden, who is a lifestyle campaigner, and will be coming on to talk about how bloody awful England is and why we shouldn't be excited about anything coming home. We've got Dean Windus, the former football star, and I'm afraid I can't remember who's your mate from the pub.
Adam Brooks, publican Adam Brooks. Yeah,
Exactly.
I want to know whether the pub trade are making decent money out of this. Is the strategy for growth more football? I suspect it is. So Dean Windass, Adam Brooks, Chris Snowden. We will be obviously previewing the England-Croatia game heavily tomorrow, and see whether all the hype that has led to that has been building up so far about is it really coming home after 60 years? Is there anything in it? It will fall a bit flat if England slip up against Croatia. Their toughest opponents in that group, in Group L, isn't it? It's gone a bit flat in Spain, I have to say, not just because of the goddamn power cut here at the otherwise gorgeous hotel I'm in, but obviously because the Spaniards team was the town was teeming with them yesterday. Were all crying into their beer when they failed to break through from Cape Verde. Pooch, I've stolen something from Mike Graham's morning show. I've got a kind of Pooch's Pooch clip that would be great to save if you've got it, which is clip number 7. Sent it to you a little bit late, I'm afraid. But this is easily the best Pooch's Pooch nomination ever. It's a good meme that's going around at the moment.
If you can just give me a couple of seconds, because they
I'll give you a couple of seconds.
By the way, with regard to Adam Brooks, beware, he will have a black eye. Did you see he had a bout over the weekend?
I know he's a boxer. He lost, did he?
No, he won. Adam the Assassin Brooks. It was a really...
So it's a bit like he's going to look bad, but you should see the other guy.
The other guy, yeah. No, it was a tremendous bout by all accounts, and he was very pleased and very magnanimous. He's a good chap.
Good. Well, Adam's a great guy to join us. As I say, I'm interested in whether the pub trade is really doing well, because I mean the kind of thing is, right, unless you've managed to get a 24-hour license, I think the pubs do much better when the games are on European time, right? Okay, you can, the UK time tomorrow's England Croatia, I think, it's 9 p.m. But the pubs really, I'm going to put to Adam, want the games to start at, 5 p.m, another one at 7:30, and maybe another one at 9:30, or a lunchtime match. That's really what the pub trade wants, I suspect. But I've been speaking to Adam. I know he was umming and erring about what sort of special deals and offers he could make in terms of bacon butties and reserving a table with a great view of the screen at 2:00 in the morning, but not totally ideal unless you manage to extend your licensing hours. But it should be good for the pub trade. When I'm back in Blighty, I will definitely be watching the games in the pub that I possibly can in the later rounds, which hopefully England will be in. But you're using the same tactics as me, Sam, are you? That you're kind of lying in bed and then waking up when a goal's scored. So you kind of the matches get pushed into your head and sort of you wake up knowing the score, even if you think you dreamt it. Is that your tactics for watching the late night games, Sam?
Broadly, more and making sure I watch all of the highlights in the morning, because that's that way I actually know what's going on rather than just guessing based on in my groggy state if I hear shouting from the phone. My wife's not thrilled, but
that's the way it has to go. Any joy with the clip, Pooch?
No, sorry, the files are corrupt, so not a problem.
Is that your BBC intern again?
Yeah, I think it might be your Spanish intern over that side.
No, the Spanish interns are all sound. None of them here work for the BBC.
Oh, okay.
I promise you that. All right.
Okay. Well, I've got. I didn't actually see this. I was quite interested to see the pilot announcing a World Cup result. What was that?
Okay, this is great. So I don't know. So at least some of your files have not been corrupted by the BBC intern. So yeah, let's have a look at this to place out. This is, looking forward to Argentina tonight. But I get this stress when my team's playing Southampton, and I'm unable to follow it if I'm not at the game. I hate being in an aeroplane. In fact, I was making a flight, I think, from Barcelona to Berlin a few years ago. And as I took off, Southampton were losing 2-0 to Liverpool, so I'd written it off. But as I landed in Berlin, first thing I was doing was checking my phone, and Southampton had come back to win 3-2. But I hate not knowing what's going on. I hate being in the air or having a power cut, for example, if Southampton are playing. But this is a great little clip. We'll play you out with this to show people the reaction on a plane landing in Buenos Aires when the passengers, all Argentinian, I think, had been in the air not knowing what the hell had gone on in the last World Cup final between France and Argentina, and probably just praying and wanting to reach for their phones as soon as they landed. But actually, in fact, the pilot gave them the information. So check this out and make sure you tune in tomorrow for Mike Graham on the Mike Graham Show at 7 a.m. Russell Quirk will be back with you at 10 a.m. And electricity permitting, I will be back with you at noon for the World Cuppa to preview England versus Croatia and look at all of the other results and preview the other matches too. Let's see what it's like to land in Buenos Aires when you know your nation has just won the World Cup.
Se informa, ya terminó. El resultado final fue 3 Francia, 3 Argentina. Dama de penales acaba de acabar. Argentina, campeón mundial.